This is the Doctor, President-elect of the High Council of Time Lords.
I am definitely a madman with a box.
Anyone for jelly, baby?
I'm the Doctor. I'm 904 years old. I'm from the planet Gallifrey in the constellation of Castabras.
Hey, you fans, and welcome to the Big Blue Box Podcast. My name's Gary.
My name's Adam.
And this is 85.
85!
Good show this week.
Yes.
Bit light on news and merch, but we're going to shove in this this little segment to give you our top 10 survival tips for getting through the dark times when there's no Doctor Who on TV.
I can't say survival without thinking of survival.
Survival.
Yeah, just as soon as you say it, I just instantly think of cheetah people.
If we fight like animals,
We die like animals.
And then we're going to get onto the when we're going to rewind time and get right back to the days of black and white Cybermen. And our Troughton story, the tomb of the Cybermen.
Try and do it in I was just going to say, try and do it in a Troughton voice. The tomb of the Cybermen, Jamie.
The tomb of the Cybermen. No, that's more.
That's
no,
more Hartnell.
That's more Hartnell, isn't it? I was going to try and do a voice changer thing as well. You know, like the really old school Cybermen voice, you know. Yeah. But I couldn't be bothered in the end.
Oh, I was hoping you would.
There you go.
Yeah. Wouldn't it be brilliant if we were recording this and our mouths are opening and it's going.
What would be?
This is the Blue Box Podcast.
What would be funny is if we did the show just in that in that Cyberman voice. That would be weird.
Yeah. You will be like us.
Yeah, yeah. It's very difficult to do that old, really old school Cyberman sound.
Yeah.
I've
also got visions of you, of us reenacting it, and you lifting me up in the air on a wire and spinning me around, throwing me across the room. Yeah. Mind you, not in the state I'm in.
Oh yeah. So yes, some good stuff coming up. Before we get to all that, how have you been, my good fellow?
Yes, not bad. Yeah, not too bad at all, actually. Who-wise, not been up to a great deal this week. I've been very, very busy with work, so I haven't really... I've actually got in from work and just literally fallen asleep. I've been absolutely shattered this week, so I haven't got to do much fun stuff. It's been all work and no play. But I did have a couple of Funkos arrived earlier on this week. Yeah, it's funny because I was getting a little bit bored of these, actually, because I've got quite a few of them. And I was looking at them the other day thinking... I still like the ones I've got, but I'm sort of thinking, I don't know, I've got quite a lot now. But the ones that turned up were Doctor Who ones, which is good, because I think that's pretty much all I've been buying recently, is the Doctor Who ones.
Right.
And so I got Sarah Jane. Well, she's really good. Really like the Sarah Jane one. I got River Song, she's pretty good, and a Silence as well, who, again, looks pretty decent as a Funko, because they can be, I don't know, sometimes they just give them that basic expression, don't they? Where they're, they could be anyone, but they've stuck the hairpiece on, so it's Sarah Jane. But she actually looks pretty good, I think. I'm quite pleased with the Sarah Jane one.
Is that the red and white dungarees?
Yes, that's
that
it.
one. Yeah, she does look good actually.
She's got like the Eldred ring or whatever it is. Yeah, she's got that.
You didn't get Rose?
I've already got Rose. Yeah. I've managed to get quite a few of the Ninth Doctor ones so far.
Oh, did you get Captain Jack at the same time?
Yeah, I got
right,
Rose, Jack, and 9, and that was like the first batch, and then these 3 have just come through. But the one I haven't got, and it's the one I'm waiting for, is K9. I'm still waiting for him to come through because I've seen pictures of the Funko Pop K9, and he looks really good. I'm just hoping he looks good in the actual thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
I couldn't, when they first announced K9 as a Funko Pop, I'll be honest with you, I couldn't see how that was going to work because of the eye thing that they do.
Yeah.
But he looks pretty decent in the picture, so hopefully he's good. But he hasn't turned up yet, so I'm looking forward to getting him.
I saw that you could pick up the K9. I saw there was a few people selling it on eBay.
Oh, right.
Yeah, and there was a guy that was selling the actual Pop Funko. I think it was 15 quid.
Yeah.
and then the postage was 45 quid
Oh,
or something like that. And you think, what?
what's the point of
And you
that?
think, hopefully, some people haven't fell for that. And you know,
Where was he posting it from? The Antarctic?
I can't remember, but yeah, it was the postage was massive. You know, it was huge compared to the actual price of the item. So, but I think that's coming over to the UK soon, isn't it?
It should be soon. They
Yeah.
seem to be filtering through,
Yeah.
so they should be soon. Have you got any? Are you picking any of the new ones up? Have you got any ones that you're getting, or because you sort of buy the odd one or two? You're not like me that just buys them all and then regrets it. You sort of pick up all the good ones, don't you?
Yeah. Well, I did a quick Forbidden Planet run yesterday. I was in London yesterday, so I did a quick run in there on my lunch when I had some spare time over lunch, and I picked up the Fourth Doctor Funko, which I've been meaning to get for ages. It's not the special edition one where he's got the jelly babies. It's just the standard one.
He's good though. He's a good one.
Yeah, I've wanted him for ages. So, and I also picked up a Cyberman.
Oh yeah, also very good
Because
actually.
they look really at the detail on this. Because I'm not really I prefer the design of the classic Cybermen
Yeah, me
compared to
too.
like the latest ones because they just sort of Iron Man rip-offs like the latest ones to me. However, the detail on the suit and stuff looks really good, and it does look really cool as a Pop Funko figure. So I picked up those two yesterday. I was tempted to get Captain Jack as well, but I thought I've already got a couple of T-shirts, a couple of Funkos, a couple of books as well. No, I'll get it next time. So
Yeah, what was the other thing? I saw you got two books actually. You got the Script Doctor, didn't you?
yes, which I started reading last night.
It's really good.
Very,
really
very
enjoyed
good.
that.
Yeah.
And what was the other one you got? Because I've not actually the other one you bought 360 or something. Doctor Who 360.
Yeah, 365.
365. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
so
basic.
what actually is that?
It's like it sort of flies back in time throughout the history of Who, and it says like, on this day, back in, whatever year,
Right.
this important event happened within Who. So it's basically every day of the year, so every day, for a full year, it sort of references an important event that happened, years ago.
Is it more wordy than picturey, or is it
Yes.
a bit of both?
Very wordy.
Oh, okay.
It's really interesting. It's like I haven't started reading it yet because I'm reading the Script Doctor one, but having a quick flick through, it's got some great little snippets and bits of trivia and stuff that I wouldn't have known about. So, yeah, it looks really interesting.
Yeah, because I've not seen that book in the flesh yet. I remember seeing it when it came up for pre-order and thinking it sounded quite intriguing, but I haven't actually seen it in the shops yet. So
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I saw it in WH Smith last week while I was in there for something else, and they had one copy on the shelf, but it was just battered and bruised, and somebody had obviously dropped it numerous times because all the corners were dented and it had scratches on the front. And I thought, I can't buy that. So like, have you got any more of these, please? And no, we've only got that one left, so you can have that one. I was like, no, you're
they're
okay.
never going to sell it, are they?
No, of course not. No, because I saw this one, perfect condition, so nabbed it.
I had a funny thing happen in Smith's, Doctor Who related, last
You
week.
do surprise me.
I obviously have a very dodgy looking face or appearance because the figurine collection magazine that they do.
Yes.
So you get the little thin, tiny magazine, and then you get a Doctor Who figurine, sort of in a bag with it.
Yes.
They had the how do you say it? Colony Sarf. What's he called?
Colony Sarf, yeah.
Colony Sarf.
Yeah.
Yeah, they had him, but they're always behind the counter, so you have to ask
Okay.
to have it. I don't know why, because they're not really expensive or anything. They're like $7.99, but there's they have this special wall behind the counter, special,
Oh, yeah.
special stuff. So I could see him, and to be honest, I wasn't too bothered about him. But when you haven't bought anything Who for a while, and then anything new that you see just catches your eye, even if you don't want it.
You start getting
You
withdrawal
just need
symptoms.
to buy something Who, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so that was it. I saw him and I thought, I'll just have a look and check the paint job on him because they do vary
Oh, yeah.
from Eagle Moss, as anyone who buys Eagle Moss stuff will know. So anyway, long story short, I said to the woman, "Oh, can I have a look at that Doctor Who figure there?" And she took it from around the back, but she wouldn't let go of it. So I went to take it off her to have a look, see what the paint was like.
Right.
But she was still holding it. So we did this little sort of struggle between the two of us until it became clear that she wasn't going to let me have it. So if I wanted to look at it, she had to hold it for me. I don't know if she thought I was just going to snatch it and run off.
Run away. Oh, my God.
This $7.99 figure. But I must have looked really dodgy, yeah. She just wouldn't let it go. So I didn't buy it. I looked at it, decided it was a bit rubbish. Didn't like the fact that I couldn't check it properly, and left it.
I can imagine the awkwardness of
It was
both
really
of you having it, and there's like a little struggle.
There was a little sort of back and forth. I thought, oh, she's not. No, you're not. And she just sort of looked at me. I thought, no, she's not letting go. So yeah, so I didn't get it. But I did buy something else that day. What was it? Oh, I did buy the Time Lords Doctor Who special.
Oh, right, yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
from Smiths. And I purposely bought it in front of her to show her that I wasn't a thief on the machine.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
I thought, yeah, I'll get a robot to serve me. I won't use that human. Get this robot. This robot won't hold on to this. Yeah. So yeah, I bought
that's
that,
cool.
which is pretty good actually. Yeah, it's pretty good. Little.
Did I tell you about my awkward moment in Sainsbury's trying to buy a Doctor Who?
No.
You know when they released, I think it was mid to late last year, they released those behind the scenes books, and there's going to be 1 million of them. The first one was the David Tennant one. It was like a look behind the scenes of a Doctor Who episode, and the first one was the David Tennant. Do you remember those?
I don't actually. I can't think of them. No.
Come on, dude! You must remember. You've subscribed. You picked up like the first 3 at least.
Oh, the history books,
the complete history.
collection.
Yeah.
Oh, those. Yeah,
those things. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, they're great. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you remember me telling you about that trip to Sainsbury's and not Sainsbury's, sorry, Tesco. We stopped in Tesco to pick up a few bits, and I saw it on the shelf there, and I was like, ooh, that only came out yesterday. Because I'm looking to pick that one up to see what they're like. And when I got it to the till, it wouldn't scan.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't scan, on those self-serve things, the woman comes over, what's going on? So I was like, sorry, this is not working. So she tries to scan it. No good. So she calls someone over. They do bearing in mind that this thing has probably been scanned in front of the barcode like 20 times at the minute. So it doesn't matter who physically holds it. It's just not going to work. Everyone's trying to do it. Yeah. And then he goes off, and then he comes back and he's like, yeah. Sorry, mate. We can't actually sell this to you today. Oh. And I'm like, excuse me? It's on the shelf with a ticket and a price and everything. How can you not sell it? Yeah, there's a problem with the system. Someone's made a bit of a mistake, and they haven't been loaded onto the system properly. I said, but surely this happens all the time with various products. You just manually pop the price in, and away you go. No, we can't do that. I'm very sorry.
Oh dear,
too
much.
Yeah, then there was just this sort of 10-second period where we just looked at each other. It was sort of me in disbelief. And him looking at me like, well, I've told you what the problem is and the resolutions, and you haven't left the store yet. What's going on?
Yeah.
So we just had this like little Mexican standoff where we're just staring at each other, and that was it. I just left. So
was it at that point that you just snatched out of his hand and run, like Bugs Bunny?
Yeah. well, that would have been, the ideal resolution.
Yeah.
Of me just like nabbing it and legging out the shop, but
there's nothing worse though, because you're like, you've got it in your hand.
Yeah.
But you're not allowed to take it. It's almost just like they're just teasing you with it, isn't it? Like, oh, look what we've got, but you can't have it.
Yeah, it's strange because you see.
May as well just have it behind a glass cabinet or behind a shelf. Yeah.
Exactly. Sometimes you see that in shops where they just put a pile of stuff out. They've rushed it out and they've not ticketed it or something like that. But this had a proper ticket in front of it on the shelf with the price and everything. So it was somebody obviously done it. It was just a bit of a cyber mat in the system.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyway, those awkward little moments that we go through.
I've had that in Argos as well. Good, we're naming them all today. Other superstores are available. But yeah, I've had that with a set in Argos where they brought it out from the back room.
The old
back room.
Yeah.
It was what was it? It was a rubbish set, but I had to have it because I was buying all the Doctor Who stuff then. It was the Dalek, I don't know, 12th Doctor Dalek set that was exclusive to Argos, and you got an exclusive Rusty figure, and I was like, well, I must get it because it's all exclusive and I'm a Doctor Who fan. Yeah, and they brought it out from the special room and they scanned it, and I'd seen pictures of people that had got it on Facebook, so I knew it was already out. But he did the same thing. He's like, oh, sorry, we're not allowed to sell this till Saturday. I was like, what? But I'm here now and it's Thursday. He's like, yeah, I can reserve it for you if you want to come back on Saturday and pick it up. I was like, no, I don't really want to drive 20 miles home and come back and get it because it's exclusive to you. So I've got to come back. So yeah, but the same thing. I was just like, I had it in my hand and it was slowly taken off me.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think they enjoy it. I think they do it on purpose.
Yeah. It was like luck was in our favour, but then the universe slapped us back into normality.
Into place.
Yep.
Yeah.
Let's not forget the awkward moment I had in the Who shop last month where I got completely I got a very good telling off for taking a selfie.
The next time we go to the Who shop, I'm going to wear the biggest camera. I'm going to take the biggest camera I can find. I won't use it, but I'll just have it with me. Like maybe one of those old-fashioned ones on a tripod that looks like a cross between a harpsichord or something. Not a harpsichord, what do you call it? You know, those old-fashioned cameras.
Yes.
I'll take one of them with me. No photos. No. Yeah. Just walk around with this giant camera.
Or we'll rent a film crew for a day. So we'll run in there and set up a tripod and with everything and his big lighting rig and everything.
What are you doing?
We could go on and on. Let's not even get onto Forbidden Planet.
Oh God, no! Don't do that.
Otherwise, we're going to go down a dark path.
I know, and people have mentioned we haven't used the rant button for a while, and it will almost certainly come out if we go down that route.
If we do that, we'll go down Sixth Doctor territory.
Oh yeah,
we don't want to go there this morning.
Exactly.
So let's not go down any more of that stuff.
No,
but we can crack on with the news though. Shall we land it and do it?
Let's land it.
First up, quite a big bit of news this, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
The spin-off show that's coming later this year. It's the now online BBC Three, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
So Class, the brand new spin-off show, has had its cast announced, which is good because I was beginning to think that it'd fallen into an abyss of some sort.
Yeah, because it is coming out this year, isn't it? Yeah,
this year.
Yeah.
When is it? Is it September?
I'm not sure.
Like that. Anyways, later on in the year. So we've had the cast announced, finally, which is good. So the main principal cast is five dudes.
Yeah.
Two dudes and three lasses.
They all look very cool and young and good looking and blech.
So
they all look very cool.
Yeah. So the four younger cast members, and they're all sort of they've gone down the George Lucas approach, haven't they? They've cast people who have not been in anything yet.
Yeah, I quite like that actually.
Yeah, or anything that you would recognise anyway. So new peeps would be Greg Austin, Fadi El Sayed, Sophie Hopkins, and Vivian Opara. 4 newbies, and then they're going to be joined by Catherine Kelly, who's one of the teachers at the school at Coal Hill.
There seems to be quite a buzz about Catherine Kelly, and I must admit I don't know who she is, but is she a soap actress or something? Because a lot of people are like, oh, she's really good. Oh, I'm excited now. And I felt a little bit out of the loop because I was like, well, who is she? But
well, at the moment, she's in this TV show, I forget what channel, called Happy Valley.
Oh, a lot of people are talking about that. Yeah. I haven't watched it, but yeah.
So apparently she's very. I've watched a few of the episodes from the first series of that, and it was quite good. It was pretty good actually, but apparently she's very good in that, and she's also been in quite a popular show called Mr. Selfridge. That's one of them.
Yeah, I've heard of that. Yeah,
and this new show called The Night Manager, which is going to be on soon. So she has been in a few things, and she's quite popular at the moment. So
is it? I watched The Night Manager. It's not her, is it? Blimey, she looks different. Okay.
Yeah, so it's quite good that they've got somebody who's kind of out there at the moment and has been doing stuff to bring a bit of, which is exactly what George Lucas did when he brought in Alec Guinness to star alongside the nobodies at the time. So they look pretty good, actually. Look a good bunch. It's good that we've got some extra info and we actually know who's going to be in it and a bit of direction. I'm not too keen on Moffat's description.
No, nor am I, and I know exactly the bit you're going to... And we haven't talked about this previously, by the way, but I can just tell that you're thinking the same as me. Go on.
Yeah, so Class is dark and sexy right now. And I'm not sure I want to watch it based on it being dark and sexy. I'm not sure.
No.
Because
well, it's about school, for a start.
Yeah, I mean, we're not prudes on the show or anything like that. It was not like, oh my God...
Good Lord.
Let's file a complaint immediately. We're not anything like that. It's just, it doesn't really fit what we've been told so far that the vibe of the show is going to be. So typical Moffat, has jumped in with both feet and probably upset.
Yeah.
Because I've seen loads of tweets about it as well saying, what is Moffat saying? It's sexy a lot. But at least we've got some more info. Because like I said, other than the initial announcement, there's been very little out of the BBC or anybody about it really. So, and there's a couple of little videos as well. There's like an introductory video, like meet the cast and some like individual snippets. So we shall see. I'm still undecided on this.
Yeah,
I really am. And I don't mean to be like, Mr. Negative about it. I'm trying not to be, but I'm just not sure on how this is going to go. So it really will be a taste it and see.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat as you, actually. I'm finding it really hard to get enthusiastic about it, but I really desperately want to be. Did you watch the 360 video that they released?
Yeah.
That was quite interesting. I'm just a bit of a wally, really, because when I watched it, I didn't know you were meant to move the screen around, so I was thinking, well, why am I watching a video of the floor? What's going on here? And then I realised you could move it around.
Yeah.
But that was quite an interesting little gimmicky thing. The funny thing is, if you're watching it on your phone app, it can be quite hard to close because every time you try and move your thumb on the screen, it just moves the picture around rather than actually pushing the video to the bottom so you can close it. But yeah, that was quite an interesting little promo thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It's good. It's good to see a bit of positivity coming towards it. Although I'm, as I said, not really sold on this one yet. It has been like attracting a lot of criticism. Well, it's not been getting very good responses so far. But it seems since they've announced this cast and also the Catherine Kelly announcement, it does seem to be that more people are like, oh, okay, might give it a go then. So it's good to see it getting a bit more of a positive reaction.
Yes.
Now. So yeah, like you, I want to like it. I'm still intrigued by it. Of course, I'm going to watch it.
Of course, yeah.
But there's nothing in there that makes you go, "Oh, looking forward to this" yet.
Yeah, and the description that's come out, the official synopsis, if you like, that sounds quite cool. It's like a young adult series set in contemporary London, scary, funny, and as painful and sharp as youth. It will also shine a light on a whole new corner of the Whoniverse.
Yeah.
So it's intriguing, it's interesting, but it's absolutely one of those we'll have to see.
I'm wondering who they're aiming it at, though. Because I think, part of the reason I think that I can't get too enthused about it is, as I said, I don't feel it's aimed at me somehow.
I don't think it is, I think it really is aimed...
I don't feel cool enough.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm the sort of older generation Who fan, and it feels to me like they're trying to get the all the younger audience back with it, which is fine. But I think that's the reason I'm just not totally sold on it. Is I just don't think it's quite aimed at me somehow.
I think because it's that young adult bracket, I think it's like high school, secondary school people, college, uni people. I guess that type of thing.
They've mentioned Buffy in the same breath as it as well, haven't they? Which is interesting. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see.
Yes.
Whenever it finally hits the online screen.
The intranet.
Intranet.
Yeah.
Okay, in other news, and it's sad news, I'm afraid, Reg Whitehead, who played the very first Cyberman that we see on screen in The 10th Planet, has sadly passed away at the age of 83. And I think we can both agree that 10th Planet is a classic, and that scene in particular of him opening his mouth and that strange voice coming from off the other side of the set is as eerie as anything in Doctor Who. So, yeah, very sad news to hear that he's passed away. He was also in lots of other Doctor Who stories as well, including The Moon Base, The Abominable Snowmen, and the classic that we're reviewing today. He was in the Tomb of the Cybermen, so he was in lots of Doctor Who, as well as other TV programs like Z-Cars, The Avengers, The Saint. So yeah, sad news.
It's sad news, and it does carry a certain weight of significance, purely because, like you say, he was the very first Cyberman that we saw on screen, and then went on to play various others in different stories and so on. So again, another week, some more sad news, but also a celebration of his contribution to Who and stuff. So
absolutely, and he was still involved in conventions and things right up until, I mean, he was due to appear at 10th Planet doing the Day of the Cybermen next month in May.
Oh yes, yeah,
and he was due to appear at that, so he was still sort of very much in the world of Who. So yeah, sadly.
Sad news. Let's wrap for news. Let's visit that strange corner of Skaro. Where
Are those Daleks waiting?
They are waiting, buddy.
Okay.
Merch corner. Merch corner. Merch corner.
I don't know whether to be impressed or disgusted.
It's a bit rubbish, but it's pretty. It's very pretty.
Light on merch this week. As we are light, there doesn't seem to be much going on. It's one of those weeks where they're literally, other than the big announcement for class, there isn't anything else going on at all, is there?
No, it does feel a bit empty in the old void.
It does, but we do have a bit of Big Finish coming out this month. And these guys have been attracting quite a bit of attention, I think, over the last few months.
Yeah.
Especially with their appearance at the 10th Planet event that you went to.
The
recently.
Phantom.
Sorry,
Phantom
not 10th
event.
Planet, the Phantom event.
Yeah.
And you said they were really cool guys, didn't you?
Oh,
really
they were
nice
great.
Yep.
Really good, yeah.
So I can't quite believe this. But this month, Series 11 of Jago and Lightfoot is out from Big Finish.
Yes.
And I'm still a little bit wow at that, because I've only listened to one of their stories, which is the one they did with Dan Starkey.
Yeah.
The Haunting, which I really liked. And it's always one of those things where, like, I really enjoyed that. So I'm going to go back now and pick up. I really want to pick up. I don't want to do this thing where I just jump in later on because of my sort of OCD completeness, bizarreness that going on. I want to start at the beginning, at Series 1. But when you look at now, they've got Series 11 due to hit in April. It's like, wow, that's a lot of Big Finish to get through before you get to Series 11. So,
yeah.
The new one, it's split up like they normally do with Big Finish. It's split into 4 stories, which comprise the box set. And it's called, the first one's called Jago and Son. Number 2 is called Maurice. Number 3 is called The Woman in White, and then finishes with a story called Masterpiece. And I love this about Big Finish, because it could have so easily been one of those, we'll do a couple of series, but the characters are so rich and they work so well together. They're such a great tag team. Why not just keep pumping out the stories if they're good?
Yeah.
So those of you that have been following the series so far, and you've got all the other box sets, you jammy so-and-sos. So this month you can pre-order now. I'm not sure when it launches in April. It's probably going to be week 3, which is what they normally do with Big Finish. But 30 quid or 25 quid digital.
I was going to say, yeah, normally cheaper, aren't they, on the pre-order? I think they go up slightly after release. But yeah, I'm the same as you, because I've been wanting to jump into the Jago and Lightfoot series for a while now, because I hear so many good things about it, and clearly they still sell incredibly well for them to be doing, up to Series 11. I mean, they've obviously got a good following and good sales and all that. So, but I'm like you, because I didn't get into it at the start, and we're already on 11, I'm thinking, oh gosh, I've got to go back and start at the beginning, because the only one I've heard is the Mahogany Murders, which was a companion chronicle ages ago. And that was good. So yeah, I'm the same as you. At some point I'll jump on and get into it, but I think I don't think they're the sort of thing you can necessarily jump in the middle of, because I remember, I'm not sure which one it is, Jago or Lightfoot, but one of them was saying about how they were taking it down a slightly different route towards the end, towards this series has just come out. Yes. And he was saying he wasn't sure about it when they pitched it to him, but now they've done it, he loves it. But I don't know what that's about, and it really intrigued me. I was like, oh, so what's he talking about? So yeah, I think it'd be good to start from the beginning, so you can sort of follow their arc or whatever that they have going on here.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm hoping at some point Big Finish do a bit of a sale.
That's what I'm waiting for.
On some, that's all I'm waiting for, really, because even if you go right back to Series 1, that's still, I mean, it's down a little bit. Series 1's 20 quid now. That's on a special, but all the other Series 2 onwards are still 35 quid. So if you were to look into, if you're looking to buy, to go back and get those, you know, it's still, you know, for an older series, I'm talking about, like especially Series 2 through to maybe 6 or something, they're still quite, you'd expect them to drop a little bit by now.
Yeah. And that's one thing Big Finish don't always do, is it? They don't sort of tend to, when stuff's been out a while, they don't tend to sort of reduce it, which is a bit of a shame. I think apart from the monthly range, which they, after years and years and years, eventually reduced and got rid of all the CD versions cheaply, and that was it at the end of it. So, yeah, but I'm like you. As soon as they do a big Jago and Lightfoot sale,
we'll be on it.
We'll be on it, yeah.
Yeah. So Jago and Lightfoot Series 11 will be hitting your post box or your inbox this month.
Yes. Right,
as we're low on news and merch, we're going to give you guys, because especially it's quite relevant to what we just said, Doctor Who is very thin on the ground at the moment with news and merch and what's going on. So we thought we would give you our top 10 survival tips. It's a bit over the top, really. How to, because I've seen a few other people do these things recently, like, how to get through. I don't really mean to mention Star Wars all the time, but it does feel very much like the dark times. If you're a Star Wars fan, you know what that means, where there was just hardly anything coming out. So we've got 10 tips for you. So until Doctor Who is back on our screens, how you can survive.
Get through the drought.
Get through the drought, yeah. Mm-hmm. Tip number 1. Seeing as we just mentioned Big Finish, might as well kick off with that one. Tip number 1 is get into Big Finish, if you've not done so yet. And you'll hear people say this all the time. Whenever you listen to any Doctor Who podcasts or anything like that, Big Finish is, I think it's just such a massive part of Doctor Who fandom these days. You'll hear people recommend Big Finish all the time. So we're not going to be any different. Probably our top tip would be to start listening to something from Big Finish. And the quality is so good most of the time across all of the ranges. It doesn't, because I know we've been asked this question a couple of times, and I'm sure many other people do. They always say, where do I start with Big Finish? And how do I get into it? And what Doctor should I start listening to? And blah, blah, blah. And my advice, I'm not sure about you, mate, but my advice would just be to not listen to advice from people. Just
jump in.
Just jump in, because the quality is good most of the time. There are a few standout bits, things like Dark Eyes, a few of the old McGann ones. So because McGann was obviously only had one TV adventure, when he came over to Big Finish, people just went nuts. And they produced some absolutely cracking 8th Doctor series and stories. So some of the early McGann stuff's great. The Dark Eyes box set is great. Some of the Doctors that you wouldn't think would be good are just amazing on Big Finish. So the 6th Doctor, Colin Baker stuff is very, very good.
He's brilliant on
really good on Big Finish. And McCoy. So those two that you wouldn't necessarily think would be great on audio, because, McCoy was great in TV, but the Colin Baker years are often not always viewed upon as the best from the TV stuff, but absolutely cracking on Big Finish. So there's a few standout things, and I'm sure if you just Google around and go on a few websites, you'll see people recommending various Big Finish stories. But my advice would just be to just jump in. Just find like a couple of the older ones that are fairly cheap on the Big Finish website. Maybe the ones, I think you can find them for about £5 or £10, some of the old ones that are quite good.
Yeah.
And just give it a go. Just, you don't even have to get the CD. If you want to start cracking on with them straight away, you can get them digitally. So tip number 1. What about you, mate? With Big Finish, you'd agree with that?
Oh, I would. I was going to say, I always find it the impossible question, and it is one we get asked a lot, is, I want to start listening to Big Finish, what would you recommend? And I find it so hard to answer because there is so much out there now. Their output is incredible. And also, taste is personal. You know, stories that I've really enjoyed, other people might not.
Yeah.
You know, so I find it hard. I mean, there are some that I suppose you would consider absolute classics, like Spare Parts always gets mentioned. Jubilee I really like because they based it on the Dalek on it. You know, Silver, the Light at the End, a brilliant 50th celebration CD. So there's loads of good stuff. But I agree with you. Just dive in. The only thing you have to be wary of, I suppose, is in the monthly range. They do sometimes do quite long arcs that might just throw you a little bit. But to be honest with you, when I sort of dipped out of Big Finish for a little while a long time ago and then got back into it, and so I just started buying random ones. And even those that have those arcs, they're pretty much still standalone. I didn't sort of struggle because I was, you know, when I sort of started getting heavily back into Big Finish again, I sort of dipped in mid-range and you know, now I go back and listen to them, I realise there's a lot of stuff in there that ties in with other stories, but it didn't affect it the first time I listened to it. But now I go back and I've got the other stories, it all makes sense. So yeah, I don't think it really matters, but there are one or two bits. But the McGann ones, and I always say this to anybody, McGann did a couple of monthly range ones, but the ones I really like is the 8th Doctor Adventures. It was like a 4 series of just McGann. So I really enjoyed. They're all, you can just pick any of those, but I would listen to them from the start. Yeah, because Sheridan Smith as a companion, Lucy Miller, they're just a great team, and I love that series. So highly recommend them.
There's also a couple of other stories that are really good, not necessarily about the Doctor. So there's a series called Davros.
Oh, that's good. Yeah,
sorry, not Davros. I Davros.
Yes,
that's cracking. So
Terry Malloy.
Yeah, so that's really, really good if you want to give that a go. So yeah, Big Finish. And also, if you want to see what Doctor Who fans are listening to and what people are chatting about and recommending, if you just jump on Twitter and just do a search for Big Finish, Twitter is just absolutely crammed full of people talking about Big Finish. Just before we started recording today, I saw somebody, a podcast that I follow on Twitter called On the Time Lash Podcast. And he had picked up a 4th Doctor, strangely called The Labyrinth of Buda Castle, which is a strange title, but it looks like a kind of vampire kind of. What's the Nosferatu character kind of vampire looking story?
All right,
I must have just breezed past it as I was looking at all the Big Finish stuff, and he was like, the script is really, really good, it's a great story. So you often pick up little tips and recommendations just from, you know, eavesdropping on people's conversation about Big Finish as well. So just jump on Twitter and do a search for it.
It always surprises me they don't have a thing on their website like a starter guide or something, because as I said, they got so much out there. I always think it'd be good if they just added, because they've got so many tabs, haven't they, you can click on. I was surprised they don't have a sort of like get into Big Finish bit that you can click on.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
perhaps they struggle from the same thing as us, as they don't know what to what to cut down to recommend. But yeah, that's a good thing about Twitter. It's a shame they closed their forum, actually, because that used to be a brilliant place to go, the Big Finish forum, and just chat about everything. And people, you know, that used it were so into Big Finish. It was always a good place to go and get an idea of what's what. It's really sad that they shut that. But yeah, like you said, there's loads of other places out there.
Just a last mention on this. There is a website called thetimescales.com.
Oh, yeah, I've heard of this, yeah.
Yeah, that's a really, really good website. These guys, Colin Baker would absolutely hate it, but they specialise in putting lists together. And they do really good recommendations as well. So they've got lists like most reviewed, you know, most rated, last 30 days, latest Doctor Who editions, latest range editions, top reviewers, recent ratings. If you're after recommendations and a bit of a steer in the right direction, thetimescales.com.
Brilliant. I'm glad you mentioned that, because I've heard of that before and kept thinking, yeah, I must check that out, and then always forgot the name of the website. So nice one.
That's cool.
Right. Here's a second tip for getting through the drought. Grow your book collection. Me, myself, I love buying books and very often just pile them up and don't get time to read them. But yeah, it's great. I mean, there are so many Doctor Who books out there, and a lot of it is really, really good. Listeners will know that we love the Lethbridge Stewart books. They're highly recommended.
Yep.
I actually, one of the ones you pointed out earlier was The Vault, which is a great book, and it's been out a while and is normally really cheap these days. If you see that, I think last time I saw it was a £5. in like the works or whatever. Just that's a great book, The Vault.
Yeah, it's crammed full of it's basically just tidbits on everything to do with Who, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's like an encyclopedia with just tons of pictures and loads of info. And I'm sure on Amazon at the moment it's a £5. And I'm sure when it first came out it was 20 quid or something. So
it was.
It's a real bargain, yeah. Some other really good mentions. The Writer's Tale, written by Russell RTD. That's a really, really good book. That's basically the book is a conversation between him and I forgot the guy's name. I think it's Ben. I've forgotten the other guy's name who co-writes it with him. The book is essentially just an email conversation between the two of them, and it's about Russell T Davies working out how he's going to essentially write Doctor Who from David Tennant onwards. So it's about there's conversations about casting David Tennant, all the little bits that's going through Russell T Davies's head. It's like his head poured out into emails between this other guy. It's so interesting. It's a great book.
It is. It's really interesting to see some of the ideas he had that he didn't use as well, and why he didn't use them. And you think, oh, that would have been great, and you also think, oh God, that would have been awful. Thank God he didn't. It's a great book. That yeah.
And one of the things that sticks out to me from that book is their complete and utter surprise and just joy that they managed to get Catherine Tate to be a regular on the show. There's a conversation where he's like, I can't believe it. I just can't believe it. We've managed to get Catherine like full time on the show. So that's a really, really good book.
Definitely.
It's worth checking out. Another one would be, if you guys have listened to the podcast from the beginning, you would know that I interviewed a guy called Neil Perryman right at the beginning when his new book came out called An Adventure with the Wife in Space. That's a really, really good book. It's essentially, he sits his wife down and he gets her to watch every episode of Doctor Who right from the beginning. So from the first An Unearthly Child right through to the TV movie. And it's really funny because it's his wife Sue comes out with some cracking thoughts and feelings on Who. It's about her journey, really, getting into Doctor Who. So that's really, really funny.
It's brilliant because Sue, it's really strange. You sort of get Sue's personality almost from the get-go, and she's just hilarious. It's very to the point. If she doesn't like something, she says, and some of the stuff she comes out with is brilliant. It's a really good book. That he did. I don't think he's done the book, but he did an online one where after he did all the Doctor Who's, poor old Sue, he sat her down and did the same thing with Blake Seven.
Oh, yes.
And I loved it. I was just like, because everything she's coming out with, I was just cracking up.
She's really funny, isn't she?
She's brilliant. Well, it's a really good book, that. Well worth picking up.
Some other mentions would be the book that we spoke about with Andrew Cartmel a few weeks ago, and I picked it up yesterday, The Script Doctor. That's a really good book. If you want an insight into the last era of classic Who, the McCoy era, and how that whole story, how they were, the direction they wanted to take the Doctor and the show, how the BBC, basically took the show away and all that stuff. Andrew does a really good job. I've only started reading it, but I know you've read it, mate, and it's.
I've read it a couple of times. Yeah, it's a. I read it when it first came out, and then it got reissued a couple of years back, and I read it again before we interviewed him. It's a brilliant book. I love it because I love that era, and it's basically like a diary, isn't it? But Andrew's got. If you listen to interviewers, you can just imagine him. Him speaking as you're reading it. It's just a great insight into the McCoy era and what was going on.
Yep. Some other quick mentions. The series of books that they released for the 50th anniversary were, I think they were re-releases of stories that had already been out, and you'll recognise the books because all the spines have got a black and white photo of the Doctor. It's got numbers 1 to 11 I think it's 1 to 11, yeah. And some standout stories from that series would be Only Human, which is a really good Ninth Doctor story, Festival of Death from Fourth Doctor, and a Second Doctor story, Dreams of Empire. So those books are really, really good. If you can pick up any of the old Target novelizations, they're great. Really, really good. One of those that stands out is Doctor Who and the Zarbi, which I read recently, which I found in a second-hand shop for like £1 somewhere. But those old Target books are great.
They are, yeah. I love the Target books. What was the one that used to the title made you laugh, that Second Doctor one? Was it the Roundels? I remember there was one you were just like, when it was, sorry, it wasn't the Target books, I think it was something else. Is it the Roundels? I can't remember.
There was one that I remember falling about laughing. I'll have to remember the title, yeah. Tip number 3. As we're talking about reading stuff, now's a good time to get into the Titan comics. These have been out for, it must be over a year now, or nearly a year. And they've got stories for all the modern Doctors, and now they've started to branch out into the classic Doctors as well. We've had, I think, Paul McGann, the 8th Doctor, his range is currently in motion, and the 4th Doctor comics have just launched. Now is a really good time because now they've reached like the end of some of the story arcs. They've started to release them as graphic novels. So I know that you can jump onto a couple of comic book websites and eBay and pick up some of the back issues if you want the single editions. You can go and pick all those up. But if you want to pick up just the collected ones, these graphic novels, I think they're about a tenner, £10-11, something like that. But the Titan comics are very, very, very good. And I'm got really good high hopes for the 4th Doctor one, because the first one that I read a couple of weeks ago was really good. And I'm hoping they're going to branch out and do other Doctors as well, some of from the classic years. But the newer Doctor ones are really good. The 10th Doctor series is great. And although the 9th Doctor one, it kind of lost its way a little bit towards the end, it started off really, really good, the 9th Doctor one. So for reading material, the Titan range, now's a really good time to start picking those up.
Yeah, they are good. I actually, last Sunday, because it's the last Sunday I've got off work for a while, I actually, they'd all got messy. So I was we were saying earlier, we've got like a pile of comics to sort of catch up on.
Yeah.
And as they've sort of been dropping through the letterbox, I'd kind of just been putting them on the side, so they'd all got out of order. And last Sunday, I actually put all my comics out on the floor and put them into order of what they should be, so that I can actually catch up and start reading them, because they are really good. And the annoying thing was, I seem to be missing one issue, and I've got hundreds now. There's one 11th Doctor, and I was thinking, how did that happen?
How do you sleep at night?
This wouldn't have happened if I'd have been putting them in order in the first place. And I was really annoyed. I was thinking, so I went online, and of course it's an old one, so they haven't got any. But they are really, really good. I really highly recommend them. And that Tales from the TARDIS thing that they've just started doing is kind of the same.
Yeah. Yep.
They're really good. I have to say, if you can get those. They've only just started coming out. It was kind of like their new way of trying to put them out, isn't it? Another format, really.
Yeah.
But they're good.
Yeah. They are good.
Yeah. And they're from Titans as well. Okay, I've closed the list, so I can't remember what. Oh, yes, number 4 is, of course, to search for fan content. And there is loads of great fan content out there. So there's loads of great podcasts, loads of great YouTubers, Whotubers. And it is a good way of I mean, I spend a lot of time listening to other podcasts. Other podcasts are available, and I love podcasts, and also YouTube as well. So there's loads of great content out there from fans themselves.
Yeah. If you jump into, there's quite a few podcast apps out there these days, but if you jump into iTunes or I'm trying to think the other one, Stitcher Radio, there's a few of them. And just do a search for Doctor Who. There must be about, 30, 40 different podcasts out there. Not all of them are still going.
No.
And some of them, you have to listen to a couple of them to get into it. But there's a lot of really good podcasts out there. A few mentions would be the Crinoid podcast.
Yes, like the Crinoids, yeah.
Yep. Who's He? Who else is there? Our friends over at Proctor.
Proctor Who's great. I love Proctor Who. Those guys are just,
our buddy Martin Bad Wilf, he does some good stuff.
Yeah.
There's just just do a search. There's quite a few. I'm sure we've missed out a few there. They're like,
I was going to say,
what about us? Yeah. I'm very sorry. We do listen to quite a few. I just can't remember off the top of my head.
If you want a really short, sometimes I've just like when I need a really short something to listen to, like 15 minutes, the Memory Cheats is a great little podcast. Two guys that they randomly pick a story and then just talk for 15 minutes on it from memory about, and it's just great if you just want a 15-minute quick blast or something while you're doing the washing up or ironing or whatever that's probably just me actually, whatever you're doing, but that's another good one. And Time Vault is another good podcast.
Okay, yep.
Those guys are really good. So yeah, loads of good stuff out there. Just do a little search.
Yeah, there's one called The Doctor Who Show, which is one that does a podcast but also goes out on YouTube as well.
Oh, right, yeah.
Which brings me on to YouTube. There's loads of good Who-tubers. which you are obviously one of.
I am one, yes.
You would consider yourself a Who-tuber?
I'm a Who-tuber.
Yes, quite a distinguished role. But there's quite a few good YouTube accounts. Epic Who, which our buddy Tom Dix done, which he's taken on some staff recently. He's now building a team of other Epic
Surrounding
Who's.
himself with women, isn't he?
Yeah. Who else? Who Addicts reviews. Those guys are awesome.
Always good.
Matt and James. They've been going for a while now, and they've got some really great videos. And they're often very funny as well. Who else is there? Ben Lett, Host Productions.
Host Productions, very good.
Very cool. I could go on for ages. There's
the Dr. Puppet. I love.
Yeah.
Watch the Dr. Puppet. It's really good.
There's just loads. And again, if any Who-tubers who listen to the show are thinking, hey, what about us? I'm very, very sorry. If I've missed anyone, we'll just recap next week or something. We'll do like a quick list of recommended.
Yeah, I was going to say, vote Saxon 07, I must mention, because his reviews of Doctor Who stuff are fantastic. And Gargantuan Apple, who's one of our listeners, he's a great little YouTuber as well.
Oh, cool, yeah.
Yeah. I'm sure there's loads. You can never think when you're on the spot.
Yeah. Right, point number 5, let's get through these. Number 5 would be to start a fan project of your own. So there's one thing, searching out all of the different podcasts and YouTube videos and stuff, but why not start your own? As there's nothing going on in TV at the moment, why don't you start a podcast or a blog or your own YouTube channel and just start waffling about anything you like about Doctor Who? I mean, that's how we do 90% of our show. It's just waffle about various things. I mean, even if we're in a particular segment like the review or whatever, we always waffle and go on about stuff. So now's a good time if you've been thinking, because I've had a few messages since we've been doing this podcast, saying, how did you start the podcast and what do you need to do to start a podcast, and what should I talk about and what sort of stuff should I do if I wanted to make my own podcast? And the answer is that you shouldn't really contain yourself to a certain thing or a subject or a schedule, anything. Just start doing it. I remember when I first started this podcast, I was nervous as anything. I didn't really know exactly what I was going to do, so I tried to give it a little bit of a schedule and say, I'm going to be, this is Gary, I'm going to be talking about this today, and and it just ends up just becoming whatever you make it. So if you've been thinking about it for a while and you're thinking, I could do that, I could do a podcast or whatever, just do it. There's nothing stopping you at all.
Jump in.
Yes.
Right. Tip 6, this is something I'm good at. Start your own merchandise collection. I'm sure a lot of you out there have already, but it's good. I mean, there is still a lot of merch out there. One of the things that's caught my eye recently is the Robert Harrop figures, which just look fantastic.
Oh yeah.
So I haven't gotten it yet, but they're on the agenda. But there's loads of stuff. I mean, a lot of people like the Funko Pops. I've got quite a few of those. The Titan range, I think, is still really going quite strong. Actually, I still like the Titan stuff.
Is that the blind boxes and
the blind boxes,
all that stuff? Yeah.
I'm liking that. I've just picked up a couple of X-Files ones actually. I'm branching out, but yeah, they're still going strong. And they've the last ones they did was the 9th Doctor collection, which was really good with the little. What are they called? Little Slovenes.
Oh, yeah.
The figures in that were really good in that set. So but there's loads of merch out there to get your hands on and spend your hard-earned cash on. But
that's that's the reason why I put this one in there, because again we get quite a few messages to say, I love the pic that you put on of your new Funkos, or new books you picked up are really good. I wish I could. I've been really meaning to pick that up or stuff like that. There is one thing I want to mention though, and this is a bit like when you see adverts on TV for gambling websites and stuff like that, and they have the little gamble aware thing like that. Once you start, and I think you'll agree with this, mate, once you start, it can become a bit of an obsession and a bit of an addiction, especially with companies that bring out ranges of things.
And variants
and stuff like that. So things like the Pop Funkos and the Titan figures, that can become a bit addictive.
The Titans are murder as well, because you get you'll get one and you'll open it and it's like, oh, you don't know what's inside. And then if it's not the figure you want, but it's still good, you think, oh, I get it, but I need more now because you want to get the rest. Oh, it's a can of worms.
Yeah, so I don't want us to get sued because somebody's declared themselves bankrupt and they're like, yeah, but Gary and Adam on the podcast said that I should start buying Doctor Who merchandise. It's just a great way to show, like, you know, a cool little display on your shelf or something like that. And at the moment, when there aren't any new Blu-rays of the series coming out, or, you know, new T-shirts about a new Doctor or anything like that, now's a good time just to sweep through all of the bargain websites, just see what's on Amazon, see what's going on eBay, and just pick up a load of stuff that you've been wanting to get. Which brings us on to point 7, mate, about DVDs.
Yes.
Which is
classic DVDs.
Classics.
Yes, get yourself into classics. And I know a lot of people have been doing this, and it's brilliant to see, like, you know, people just going back and watching stories that they perhaps, you know, hadn't ever seen before, and really appreciating the classic series, because there is so much good stuff out there. Yes, there's a few clangers, but even those tend to have a charm about them.
Yes.
But yeah, just get into the classic series, and I think also you get to appreciate Doctors which perhaps you weren't so familiar with and perhaps didn't think were that good. Like, I know a lot of people sort of always think the first Doctor's not that good, he's a bit grumpy, and then they'll watch one and say, oh, actually, you know, yeah, he is grumpy, but he's actually quite good as well. And you know, so yeah, get into the classics.
Absolutely. I started getting, as soon as I started watching Modern Who, I immediately got into the classic stuff. I think after I'd finished the first box set, I started picking up the odd classic, but now it's like a bit like the Pop Funkos. It's now become a bit of an obsession. It's a healthy obsession, but it's become one of those. So I think I pick up like half a dozen discs at some point each month now. So the collection is growing, which is really good. But it's a great way to, especially if you've not watched many of the classics, or you're not really interested in it, if you just dip your toe in, you know, and get some of the more recommended ones. And what would you recommend from the classic years? A few of the Tom Baker ones are amazing.
Oh yeah, I mean, you know, Pyramids of Mars.
Pyramids of Mars, yeah.
Reign of Morbius, City of Death is really good fun. I always think it's a nice, light-hearted but good story.
Genesis of the Daleks.
Genesis, Inferno from the third Doctor.
Yeah.
Mind Robber from the second.
Spearhead from Space. Third Doctor's brilliant.
Yeah. Time Meddler for the first Doctor is a really good one.
Yeah.
Peter Davison, what's good in the Earthshock, yeah.
Caves of Androzani.
Oh, brilliant stuff.
What else is there? Sixth Doctor wise.
Revelation's good. Actually,
Revelations are good. Yeah.
Since we revisited that one, it's a very dark. Be warned when you go. Be warned when you go into the Sixth Doctor area. You're going into dark territory.
Yeah.
But that's a good one.
McCoy. What have we got there?
I always say Remembrance, but of course, that was when Gary first said to me about classics. Like, yeah, you got to watch Remembrance, and of course, he thought it was rubbish. But as we know, times have changed.
Yes.
So Remembrance, I think, is fantastic. What other ones are there in McCoy? I mean, I like all the McCoys pretty much, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, the McCoy ones are generally good. Curse of Fenric's great.
Brilliant.
Very creepy
Ghost
and scary.
Light.
Yeah, Ghostlight's really good. Yeah, so the classic range, we could go on again. Like Big Finish, we could talk forever. But if you've not got into classic Who, if you're like a modern Whovian and you prefer the new Doctors, but, you know, there's that whole just huge bucket of Doctor Who coolness waiting for you in the classic years, so do that.
Yes, and the stories that you like, that's the other thing about recommending. A lot of times, stories that one Doctor Who fan likes, another one won't. So you just dive in, you know.
Yes, just dive in.
If you want to see a dangerous cactus, get Meglos.
Get Meglos.
Yeah. Point number. There's lots of Marmite stories.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Which brings us on to point number 8, which is get your Doctor Who marathons started.
Yeah.
This is always a great I love doing this. And it really doesn't matter what marathon you want to start, whether you want to start a rewatch from 2005, the Eccleston Series 1, and work your way through, or if you want to do like a particular Doctor, so if you want to do like all the Tennant years or the Matt Smith, or if you want to do the classic stuff, and if you want to do a marathon of the classic Doctors, obviously the 8th Doctor era is a good one if you're short on time. Or the Colin Baker ones, there's only a few there. The McCoy ones, there's not a huge amount there.
No.
And the Second Doctor, because a lot of them are lost, unfortunately. So there's not a great deal there. But those ones, if you want to do a bit of a marathon there, or if you want to do the regeneration stories, that's always a good one. So if you want to do like each Doctor's regeneration into the next Doctor, and then that new Doctor's first story, that's always, I really like doing that one. In fact, I might do that soon.
Yeah.
So there's loads of marathons that you can do. So you can, another good thing is to get your buddies round as well. So like this weekend, it's Doctor Who, pizza and beer night, and we're going to watch, I don't know, the E-Space trilogy.
Ooh, where'd you pull that one from?
or we're going to watch, like, I don't know.
Trial of a Time Lord.
Trial of a Time Lord, yeah.
All weekend.
So, but that's a really good way of passing the time as well. Get your marathon started.
Yeah. Okay, tip number 9 is get yourself out to some Who events, something I know quite a lot about recently. There's nothing better than going to a convention and just mixing with other Who fans and meeting some of the stars from the show and getting to see some of the costumes and props. I think I speak for both of us when I would say we highly recommend the Doctor Who experience in Cardiff if you can get there.
Yes.
It's just, I think it's at the minute possibly the ultimate geek out for a Doctor Who fan.
Absolutely.
It's just, and they keep changing it. Someone did a video, I mean, it's only a few weeks I was there, and there's a YouTube video by Max Mitchison, who's one of my YouTube friends. He's just been there, and I was watching it thinking, what? They've already changed. That wasn't there. I was thinking this is only 2 or 3 weeks ago, so it's always changing. A great place to go. We go to the Phantom events in Chiswick. They're it's £10 a ticket. Autographs are like £5-10. They're always really good.
They're good for value.
Masters,
great value.
very good for value. Yeah. Showmasters are good.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say about.
Planet.
Yeah, 10th Planet as well.
Really good
There's
events.
some great stuff. I think they do quite a popular convention each October, November, called Dimensions.
Dimensions, yeah.
Which is a 3-day thing. It's normally up in Newcastle, isn't it? Apparently, I've not been to it before, but apparently it's very, very good. And you mentioned the Showmasters one. Now, the Showmasters is not specifically Doctor Who.
True.
But 9 times out of 10, they will have people from Doctor Who there, regardless if you go to the London one or the Cardiff or Sheffield. I think they do one down south, and I don't think they do a Brighton one.
Yeah.
So pretty much all of those will have somebody from Doctor Who, and it's normally Colin Baker. Colin, he's like a convention, it's just crazy. The amount of conventions that he does is unbelievable.
I know.
He's always there. I think McCoy's at a lot of them as well. It's normally Colin Baker and Sylvester McCoy, Sophie Eldred. Who else is there? I think Matthew Waterhouse has started doing a few more these days.
Yeah, because he lives in the States, but he has started doing a bit more, yeah.
Yeah, and
John Levine started doing a few.
John Levine, yep. Yeah. Nicola Bryant, she's normally there.
Yeah, she's very nice, yeah.
And over in the US recently, if you're one of our US listeners, you would have seen from...
That's me seething. Sorry,
I'm not reaching for it. What was the name of the convention? Was it WizardCon? WizardCon. You had Matt Smith, Billy Piper, and David Tennant all at the same convention, which would have been amazing. So, and also for US listeners, you have got Gallifrey 1.
Oh yeah,
which is a great convention that we hear, which we are one day we'll get to. We'll get to one day. So there's loads of stuff, and these Showmasters ones, they're all up the country. So they do ones up in Newcastle. I think they do one in Edinburgh.
Yeah, I think they do. Yeah, yeah.
All the way down to Brighton. So no matter where you are in the country, there should be one at some point near-ish to where you are. Yeah. So get out to a Who event.
If you can get yourself, if you're anywhere near Reading, Windsor. No, Slough. That's the one.
Yeah.
Get to the 10th Planet one. They always advertise it as Windsor, but we all know it's Slough.
Of course.
Yeah, to the Paradise Towers, I call it.
It does look.
But they're good events, they are.
They are. And one of the things that you mentioned earlier, the best thing about getting out to conventions and stuff is just geeking out with other people.
Yeah.
Especially at the 10th Planet, Phantom Films, Gallifrey 1, all those ones that are specific to Doctor Who. It's just great because time just flies throughout the day, because you're going to meet this person, you're going to a sign-in there, you get an autograph there, you bump into a bunch of people that listen to the podcast. It's like, oh great, yeah, and then you're like, oh yeah, I've seen your YouTube channel, and it's just it's just a full day of like maximum Who geekage.
Yeah,
and it's brilliant. It's absolutely great.
So what's the last one then? Number 10.
Number 10 is sort your cosplay outfit. So while we've mentioned getting out to Who events and stuff, why not take it up a notch and just get yourself from like great status to legend status, and get yourself a cosplay outfit sorted out. That's another element actually that makes the conventions really good, is when you see people turn up in cosplay. And you don't mind the odd bit of cosplay, mate, do you?
I love cosplay. I'm laughing because I've just had a terrible image pop in my head, which I probably shouldn't share. But I've just had an image of me and Gary turn up as cosplay, and me as the Fourth Doctor, and Gary as K9. And I don't know where that's come from.
Blimey.
That would be awful. That will never happen. Yeah, I love the cosplay thing. I love it. I love going to these events and seeing people dressed up, and the amount of effort and stuff that people make. Like some of the costumes, you think, wow, especially there's a lot of Sixth Doctor coats I see at these events, and I don't know if they buy them online or make them or what. But yeah, they are really good. Yeah, there's always a lot of Seventh Doctor as well, because I suppose you can buy the jumper and the umbrella and that. So there's always a lot of Seventh.
Yes, I'm trying to put together a Fifth Doctor one at the moment.
Oh yeah, okay.
I'm trying to find a shirt that has got the red question marks on.
It's difficult to find, isn't it?
Yeah, so I might have to just buy the question marks and iron them on or something.
What about the trousers though? They're a bit weird, aren't they? Those stripy, weird faded. Yeah, they're not easy to find.
Well, that's the great thing about cosplay. You don't have to go all out if you don't want. You can just you just do what you want. But it does add a sense of a massive sense of fun and and geeking out a bit more on cosplay costumes and stuff. So tip number 10, if you're going out to conventions and events and stuff, why not take it up a gear and dress yourself up? It's all good.
What do you think would be a good cosplay for me?
For you?
I've always had the pirate from the Pirate Planet in the back of my head, just because I want the parrot, mechanical parrot. I always think I'd be a great pirate.
Okay, I can see you as
not.
I was going to say the little in the Ninth Doctor story, the episode 2 when they're on the spaceship and they're about to witness like when the sun engulfs the Earth.
Not that space pig.
Who's the little thing that wheels out?
That's the space pig, isn't it?
With the huge, he's like a turquoisey green colour, and he's got like a huge, massive head.
Sorry, you're talking about the Mox of Balhoun or whatever he's called.
Yes, I can see you just being pushed around all day.
Oh, I'd like
That'd be your cup of tea.
Brilliant, good one. you can be the Shadow Proclamation then or something. No, yeah, that's a good one. I like him. Yeah,
well, you'd just be chauffeured around all day.
That'd be great.
I'll tell you what, just to mention cosplayers before we go, do you remember when we went to the festival last year and there was that young lad who was dressed up as Davros?
Yes, I do. Yes, yeah. And really good.
His parents had put that Davros, because I think he was a disabled lad, wasn't he, in a wheelchair?
He was,
and they had turned his wheelchair into like Davros's thing.
Chair, yeah.
And it was amazing. And he looked really good inside it as well. And that was cracking. So
it was brilliant. It all lit up underneath as well. It got all these lights like flashing. It was brilliant.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah. So there you go.
That's our guide to getting through Doctor Who when there is no Doctor Who on. There we go. Actually, one more thing to mention. There is Doctor Who on TV. If you guys are in the UK and have got a channel called, I think it's called it's just called W now. It used to be called Watch.
Yeah.
It's just called W now. They have Doctor Who pretty much on every day.
Have they changed the time? Because it used to be I'd get in from work, I'd switch it on, and then I'd get moaned at. No, don't change that. But it doesn't seem to be on at 7 o'clock or 8 o'clock, whatever it is anymore. Is it changed?
I think it's on earlier.
Yeah.
I think
my partner's emailed them and said, can you change the time?
And there's also the Horror Channel. If you want to watch... are they still doing the classics on the Horror
Channel?
Channel?
Sorry, yes, that's what I was thinking of. I was getting confused. I was thinking of the Horror Channel. Yeah, no, I don't think they do then because it doesn't seem to be on anymore. Yeah,
Right.
that's what I was thinking of.
Right. Adam!
Jamie, Zoe!
Jamie! What are we going to do this week, dude?
This week, second Doctor classic, The Tomb of the Cybermen.
I'm Klieg. Eric Klieg. I have brought you back to life. We of the Logicians have planned this. You're alive because of us. Now you will help us. We need your power. You need our mass intelligence. Are you listening? Do you understand me? Now that I have released you... Ah! Let me go! I set you free! It was our plan!
You belong to us. You shall be like us.
Are you listening, Adam?
Was that you doing that voice or was that a soundtrack?
That's soundtrack.
Yeah.
Are you listening?
I'm listening.
Are you listening?
I'm listening.
Right. Because that guy says that quite a few times.
Are you listening?
He's very abrupt and he wants to make sure that everyone's focusing on what he's saying. Are you listening?
I'm listening. Tell me what it's about.
The Tomb of the Cybermen. So way back, 67.
Yeah, wow.
4-parter. I like you know, last week you said, I'm sure this is a 6-parter.
Always think in my head it's 6. I don't know why.
I thought I was just about to say a 6-parter, but it's not, is it? It's 4.
4 parts.
4 parts, which is perfect for this story.
It is. Yeah, 6 would have been too much.
Because I was I thought that after I rewatched it yesterday. I thought this has ended really well in terms of timing. I thought if they were to do it, if this was a 6-parter, it probably would have dragged on a little bit.
Yeah.
In episodes 3 and 4. But so 4 parts, written by Kit Pedler, which is a great name, and Jerry Davis. Directed by Maurice Barry. These people wouldn't mean anything to many people because this is a long, long time ago. Story is thus, there's an expedition that has left Earth, and they're on Telos, which is the home planet of the Cybermen, or where the Cybermen were created. Is that right?
No. No, see, I was getting confused with this yesterday. No, Mondas is their home planet. Yeah, because I was thinking that as well. I was thinking, so what are they doing on Telos? I've got a bit confused. Yeah, Mondas. I did the same thing.
Yeah.
Mondas is home planet, but they've stopped off at Telos. And
of course, yeah. I don't know why I said that. So forget Mondas. They've been trapped on Telos. They've been frozen in time almost on Telos. And there's an expedition from Earth to go and investigate said tomb, hence the name. The Doctor, with Victoria and Jamie, land on this planet where this expedition is. They sort of super team up with this expedition and the Doctor and the gang, and it turns out that the Cybermen have laid pretty much a trap for people. So whoever would be the first people to go and explore this tomb and start fiddling and stuff, they would release the Cybermen. Cybermen would then snatch these humans, and then the process would start all over again of them creating new Cybermen. Pretty much.
Yes.
And yes, off the bat, buddy, one of Troughton's best.
It's brilliant.
I would say.
It's proper classic. When you use that term, I think it really does apply. It's proper classic.
It's proper good.
It is good. Yeah.
It's Troughton's. It's like we said with previous stories, where sometimes you just get things that are firing on all cylinders. So this has got a great. It's a good story.
Good story.
Great story. The script is really good. The support cast is mainly good. Troughton's great. Jamie's good. Victoria's a bit quiet, but overall, and the Cybermen, that old school classic Cyberman design is just beautiful.
Yes,
it's one of the most iconic sort of TV sci-fi images, isn't it? That really old school Cyberman. And I know they get overshadowed a lot by some of the newer designs of Cybermen, but if those of you who have been to the Doctor Who experience, you can see all the old school Cybermen helmets, can't you? And
Yeah.
Some of the original costumes and stuff. And they just look fantastic. They look so good. And the old school voice as well, the really old digitized voice and stuff. So this is one of those stories for me where everything's working. And it's one of those where one episode finishes and you're like, no time for tea, next one. And you're into it because you just want to see what's going on. So for me, I just love this story. And I think that's expected. I think people were probably expecting that. So what did you think, like, overall?
Yeah, no, I agree with you. It's great, and it's because I do remember when this was discovered, and it was sort of pretty much rushed out on VHS. Because I can't remember if it was all missing or if just most of it was missing. But it was found, wasn't it, in like 1991?
That's right, and they got it out really quick, didn't they?
Yeah, they sort of rushed it out on video because I can remember in Our Price. Which was a record shop in the UK back in the day. Remember Our Price?
I've not heard that in many years.
Yeah. I can remember going to Our Price and he had this big poster, really big poster, all down the wall of the Cyberman, and it was like black and silver. It was brilliant. I think I asked for it, and I can't remember if I got it. If I did get it, I'm afraid it's been lost in the midst of time. I was trying to remember yesterday if I actually got it, but I know I definitely said, "Oh, can I have that?" when you finished. But I can't remember if I ever got it. But yeah, I remember sort of like the big buzz about this. It was really, when it was really something that this had been found because it got iconic status anyway because of the, because of the photographs that were, available for it. So you could just see these images of the Cybermen bursting out. So to be able to actually see it for real when it was discovered was there was a lot of excitement about it. And I think at first, perhaps people were like, "Oh, yeah, it's good, but it's not as good as I thought it would be," because there was such a big buzz when it came out. But I think over the years, when now that sort of initial massive sort of expectation for it has died down, I think it really is a classic. Like you said, it's got a great story, and yeah, there's very, very little to sort of fault with it. I think the cast are really good as well. It looks great. I agree with you. I love the design of the Cybermen. I'm not a fan of the new design at all. Any of the new designs in the new series from 2005 onwards, they just don't do it for me at all. I like the 80s Cybermen, I like the 70s Cybermen, and I really, really like these ones. Yeah, I love the Cyber Controller with his massive brain.
Oh yeah, the big see-through dome, which has got his brain.
It's got a massive battery pack at the back as well, but I don't care because I think he looks great.
He does look great, and it's interesting that you say that there was a huge raft of expectation when this first got announced, and then people were like, "Yeah, it's not that great," but maybe that's just falling foul of like, when things get hyped up and then your expectation level goes through the roof, and then because obviously I wouldn't have seen this when it was found and released because I wouldn't have been a Who fan back then. So for me, this is just one of those. I think this was one of the first classic DVDs that I picked up.
Oh, was it?
Okay. Purely because it was one of those, you just, and this is what we were talking about earlier with tip number whatever, like picking up the classic DVDs. I think everyone goes through that process of just jumping on Google and like, what's the best classic DVDs to pick up and stuff like that. And I remember thinking that I think I must have missed it at first because I think I picked up a load of Fourth Doctor ones and some Fifth Doctor and a couple of First Doctor ones. But when I came to this one, I thought, this is reviewed very well. It looks great, but it just, I don't know. There's nothing's jumping out at me that I want to pick it up. And then literally, I think the second batch of classic DVDs that I bought, I thought, well, I'll stick it in there because everyone says it's really good. And it really is one of the best Cyberman stories. If you consider it as a standalone, just a really good isolated Cyberman story. It's so good. I mean, it beats some of the more modern Cybermen stories, in my opinion. So, what was the Tennant one? Was it Age of Steel?
Oh yeah.
That was okay. Yeah, that was okay. But this absolutely beats that in terms of a Cyberman story.
Well, I'm thinking of the Nightmare that was Nightmare in Silver.
Oh, of course,
my goodness, yeah.
I mean, there's no question. I mean, Nightmare in Silver in this one is absolutely no question. Yeah. And I think the reason for that is because there is a real threat to these Cybermen. I get the feeling that in some of the newer ones, especially and the name escapes me, as you would expect it would. What was the Missy? You know, what was it?
Death in Heaven?
Death in Heaven, yeah. You know, all the Cybermen.
Dark Water, yeah.
They just didn't seem threatening enough. The threat just wasn't there for me. They didn't seem threatening enough. And in this one, you do feel like they are completely terrified of these Cybermen. The support cast, that's one of the things that they do a good job of.
I think what we've lost in terms of scary, I reckon. I don't know. I don't know if you'd agree. With the new Cybermen, they just feel like tin men to me. Like in the earlier Cybermen stories, like in this one and that, you can kind of tell that they're human. There's a bit of human, but that's been, robotized or whatever you want to call it. So that sort of organicness and that scary thing that there's something in that suit. Now they just literally feel like actors in suits in the new series. There's no threat at all. Whereas these just feel like completely out of control, humans that have been altered. There's still that sort of slight human element to them underneath all this, robotics, if you like. And I think that's what's missing from the new one. So I actually think they're really quite scary in this. They really look like I know they're sort of running around perhaps looks a little bit pantomime now, but when they're sort of grabbing people, I mean, there's a bit where the Cyberman comes up behind the Doctor and drags him down, in that tube. That's proper. It really does look scary. So yeah, I think that they've lost that of recent times.
Yes, I agree. And I like what you mentioned there about with these Cybermen. And I think mainly due to budget. I think if they could have done more, they would have done. But of course, it's just guys in, silver rubber suits, with boots on and, some stuff stuck on them. However, that does add to the eeriness of it, because you do get that feeling that they were once, human or some sort of human form, but now they've been, made like them, to quote a phrase almost.
Because one of the things I liked about 10th Planet was they still had the human hands, although legend says that it was actually just an error because the gloves was left at home. But I don't know, never know if that's true or not, or just something that's been said over time. But I love the fact that the 10th Planet Cybermans have still got the human hand.
Yes.
It's like the last bit of human left. I always think that's good.
Yeah. And I think that adds to the creepiness of them. Because like you say, like the newer designs, everything is just completely metal and, cyber, as the name would say, the name suggests. And there's no, you don't really get an insight into what's underneath the mask. The only time we've seen that is Danny Pink, when he lifts his mask up.
Oh, yeah.
That's the only sort of insight we see, into what makes a Cyberman. And we've seen it with Daleks, when you see like the actual Dalek inside the, the armor case, and it looks a little bit grotesque and horrible. But we don't get that with Cybermen anymore. It's just a helmet, and you don't see what was once there. Whereas these classic ones, you absolutely feel like, ooh, that's a bit like, they look human and they move human, but they're not. They've been tampered with and messed up, and so I really like that about the classic, especially these ones.
Also the voice as well. You get like they actually speak in this, digitized voice, which some people, say if someone just walked in the room, wasn't Dr. Who-Man, but might laugh and say, oh God, what's that? But I actually think it's incredibly good. And they don't really speak in the new series, do they? They just say delete a lot. We've kind of lost that whole, that thing, if there is something inside there, it's just, do they actually speak in the new series? It's so long since I've watched
any
new series ones, I can't remember.
They do speak, but they don't.
They also move at like 500 miles an hour and stuff now, don't they?
Fly now and stuff.
Oh, God. Yeah, it's stupid, actually, when you think about it.
Yeah, and I hate saying this because I get the feeling that I say it all the time, and listeners are probably like, yeah, Gary, we know. You've said it a billion times. But I get the feeling that the writers just took Iron Man and just put it into Doctor Who, because the armour looks really similar.
So similar.
And now they can fly just like Iron Man and stuff like that. So, so in terms of the actual design of the Cybermen and their function within the episode and stuff like that, a lot more threatening in this.
And the actual suit they wear is so simple as well. As I say, some people might look at it and just, think it looks a bit dated, I suppose, but it's just a silver suit. We've got the chest panel, a few, what would they call them? They're not ping pong balls, but they got like these funny...
these golf, like these golf balls that have got the holes in, so they can't fly through the air. They got those on their shoulders and stuff.
So even though it's simplistic, it still works. I think it doesn't. You know,
it does. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we've established Cybermen absolutely cracking in this story.
Yeah.
What did you think to the way that we get to see the Cybermen? So we obviously know. I mean, that's another interesting thing about this story is that oftentimes with a lot of Who stories, the Doctor lands somewhere. There's something he knows something isn't right, something's going on, and then we get part way through the story, and then we get the reveal of what the monster is and what the problem is. On this one, we pretty much know from the off that it's a Cyberman story, because we know that this expedition from Earth, their whole purpose is to go and investigate this Cyberman tomb, and then we get like the logos of the Cybermen's head on the doors.
Love
and all
that,
and all that stuff. So I find that quite interesting, that we know completely right from the beginning that this is going to be a story about, you know, a battle with the Cybermen.
Yeah, there's no shock reveal, and I love the Doctor's line as well, doesn't it? He's like, everything changed as soon as that name was mentioned.
Yeah.
What name? The Cybermen. Yeah. So yeah, you're right. I hadn't really thought too much about that, but yeah, you're absolutely right. Actually, we know where we're going with this from the start. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I love all those designs as well. They look great.
Yeah. Oh yeah, they do look good. They do look a bit funny. They don't really look at all like a Cyberman's head the way they've been drawn, but it's still funny. But and just to pick up on that as well, it's interesting because that then sets your level of suspense almost, because now you know right from the beginning that it's a Cyberman story. From that point on, you're then like, so when are we going to see him?
Yeah, that's true.
You know, when are they going to spring up on us, or whether and it's that really good build up where everyone's fiddling with dials and levers, and they're trying to get into different vaults and rooms, and everything's a bit weird because you get that really nice build up where they see like the weapon testing rooms where that fake Cyberman comes out and gets blown up, and you think, oh, it's a Cyberman, because that's a good cliffhanger, isn't it, for episode 1, where you get that fake one, and then you get into episode 2 and you realise it's fake and stuff. So then you think, right, well, when are they going to make an appearance then? And then it's that really good build-up where they actually find all the tombs, and you know they're going to come out, and it's just like, oh no, they're coming. So I really like the story and the writing of how they've built it up. Where it's not the shock factor, is it? It's not like, oh my God, the monster this week is the Cybermen. It's like, wow, we know they're coming, but oh God, when are they coming?
And also, it's not like they don't sort of burst out either, do they? It's not like, oh my God, it's not all done in like that. It's actually quite slow, and it's a really iconic scene, isn't it, of them just slowly coming back to life and awake. And it's more eerie in a sense, because I think you think, well, they're trapped down there with them, so they don't. It doesn't matter how quick or slow they burst out. They're down there with them. That's the end of the story. So like that scene when they're pushing through, as I said, is so iconic anyway. And it did surprise me watching it again the other night how it really takes its time.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't, you know, it's much slower than I remembered, but I mean that in a good way. It just, it's just a really iconic scene when they finally do slowly awaken. And I'll tell you what I loved as well was when they free the cyber leader, how he's just sat with his head in his hands. And I don't know why. It's just so brilliant. It's just such a little simple thing, but it's just as if he's been waiting all this time, and he slowly comes back out. And it's like he's in a big fridge, isn't it? They just open the door and he's just sat there. Brilliant. I love it.
And it's almost like they're creating these little iconic sort of visual things that you can remember from the episode, because you know you completely and utterly remember those sort of round oval shaped pods that they're sitting in, you know, and the way that they break through the plastic and stuff, and like you say, the way the cyber leaders just sat there in that pose, you can't not, you know, you just it gets sort of shoved into your mind, and you can't forget those sort of classic scenes. So Cybermen, absolutely brilliant. I've got no complaints at all. I mean, some people do nitpick on the costumes, and they do nitpick on, you know, certain things. Like there's in several scenes, there's like the rubber tubing that's fixed to the costume. You know, it's like hanging off on some scenes, and things
there's
aren't
a bit where a
right.
Cyberman rips his arm as well, and there's a few bits like that. But
things like that. But you know what?
Doesn't matter.
You know, this is really old black and white TV with like, you know, next to no budget, as we know. So what, you know, you have to forgive those things. because they're just they're just getting on with it really. So I've got no complaints with the Cybermen at all.
What did you think we were saying about the sort of direction though? I don't know about you, but I think Maurice Barry does a really decent job with this. I think it's reasonably well paced. It's a little bit wordy at times, but I think it's well paced, well shot. I think it's pretty well directed.
I think it's really well shot because most of it is studio, isn't it? There's a few outdoor bits at the beginning, and at the end, but the majority of it is all studio stuff. And sometimes, like some of the classic stories in the studio can be a bit boring in their direction, but I thought this one was okay.
Yeah, especially because we've only really, it's pretty much contained to 3 or 4 rooms. It's not a great deal. I mean, we do get to see outside, like you said, but considering it's all kind of enclosed in that tomb and that, it does move along pretty well.
And talking of Cybermen, we get to see something else for the first time, don't we?
Oh yeah.
Which is our little menace friends.
The pesky Cybermats.
The pesky Cybermats that sometimes get into our podcasts and cause little technical gremlins. But the Cybermats, they're... I was actually impressed with how these little things worked back in 1967.
Yeah, I love them.
Because it would have been so easy for them to just create like the little design and then just put a little toy motor in. And they just go in a straight line and that's it. But their little tails move. They've got like the little segments of metal that make up the tail.
There's one bit where the little teeth move as well. It's just one shot. I'm thinking, what? Yeah.
And they obviously, they can't do much. You know, they can't even go, you know, they can't really do anything else other than go straight forward. But the way their little tails wag as well, that was a good little effect. So I was really, when I first saw it, I remember thinking, wow, that looks pretty good from Doctor Who from 1967.
I love the design of them. I like their big pulsating eyes as well. You occasionally get a shot of their eyes. They look like they're going to burst.
Oh, yeah.
Don't they? I love all that.
They're quite cute, these ones.
They are a little bit cute.
They're quite cute. They've got big, sort of almost friendly faces because they just got these big sort of puppy dog eyes. And they are quite cute. So the Cybermats, they make an appearance, don't they, for the first time?
I love the bit where one of them jumps on, what's her name? The villain's shoulder.
It's... Is it
Captain, isn't it?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, when it jumps on his shoulder. It's really well, again, directed, cut, whatever, edited, whatever you want to call it. It's really well done, actually, because you know it's coming, because you just sort of see it rustling in the back. It's just the way it's suddenly on her shoulder and she screams like mad. And I love that scene. Yeah.
Let's talk about supporting cast then.
Yeah.
Overall, pretty good.
Very good, actually. I really like them. Yeah. They're, like you said, 1 or 2.
I have to ask though, because I do have to ask this whenever there's an American character. Is it Native American or American accents?
It's American accent, isn't it? Because it's not. Yeah.
Because it wasn't too bad in some places.
We've heard worse.
We've absolutely heard worse. Yeah. It wasn't too bad. So the 2 Americans, they're like they were like the technical engineer type people, weren't they?
Yeah, I think that's Hopper, isn't it? Captain Hopper, is that the one?
That's it, yeah, Hopper. Yeah. And the guy who has more dialogue, I think it's Hopper. His accent was better than the other guy with the dark hair.
Yeah.
But they were okay.
Yeah, they're good. I think. Yeah, nothing. Yeah, no qualms for them at all.
Yeah,
as I say, the accent when he first started speaking, I thought, a little bit dodgy, but yeah, it's fine. It does a good job, and his acting's fairly decent. You know what he's given as well.
Well, he has a couple of good scenes where he really, really sort of doesn't take any messing from the character's name. Who's the expedition leader? It's
Harry.
Professor Parry, yeah. He doesn't take any messing from him.
Or Klieg. I mean, there's Klieg's the one who turns bad.
Klieg.
Well, he is bad.
Eric Klieg, yeah. He's like, we need to take off immediately. He's basically like, nope. And if you disturb me, it's going to be even longer. So button it, and I'll get on it. It's great. I love those scenes where because he's more in control than anybody.
Yeah, he does seem to be. Yeah, the others panic a bit, don't they? They're all cracking up and he's locked the door. We're going to die. They're all sort of cracking up, aren't they? Whereas he's a bit calmer, like,
he's got that typical...
You ain't going nowhere.
He's almost got that typical US Top Gun sort of fighter pilot sort of mentality. It's pretty good, actually. And what did you think to Klieg and is it Kaftan?
Kaftan, and Toberman. They're the sort of three that are in
cahoots.
Cahoots, that's the word. They're in cahoots, aren't they? They've got this crazy plan, haven't they, of sort of freeing the Cybermen, but they think they're going to work together to conquer the world, which was never going to work. Let's face it.
They wanted to build a new world, didn't they?
Yeah,
but it's pretty much doomed to failure right from the mention of we can work with the Cybermen.
It's never going to happen.
So huge buckets of naivety there.
But I love Klieg. I think he's brilliantly cast.
He is good, actually.
The actor, George Pastel is the actor. He's brilliantly cast. He's one of these actors that's playing a villain, but a villain you love to hate. He's really likable but really evil. I just like him. He's just like, you just know that he's on a losing battle here, and so you're like, oh, Klieg, give it up, mate. Isn't But I think he acts really well. I love him. I think he's really well cast. And also I like Kaftan. I think she's good as well, because the thing is, she kind of has that evil that sort of evil look about her anyway, because of the way she's been made up. So you kind of think she might be bad from the word go. Whereas Klieg, you don't really think that to begin with until he locks all the doors and then starts to take over.
Okay,
yeah. Because that bit where Kaftan shoves poor old Victoria in the cyber unit and tries to kill her, I was like, whoa. Harsh.
That was a bit strong, wasn't it? Quite early on.
Strong.
It's like, whoa. Yeah.
She's not messing around, is she? She's just like, get in there.
Nah.
Yeah.
They were cast very well, actually.
Really good.
Klieg and Kaftan. They had that sort of villainish way about them, but they were quite subtle to begin with.
Yeah, that's what I love. They're really good to watch. They're not over the top villain like you sometimes get. They're just really nice performance from both of them, actually. Yeah.
What do you think to Professor Parry?
Professor Parry,
was he Welsh?
Yes, he is.
He is.
Yeah.
Yes,
yeah.
I thought so.
No, again, good. A very good supporting cast. I was going to say he doesn't get as much to do as the others, does he? He's not in it quite as much.
He gets a few shouty scenes, which are quite good.
Yeah. Gets a few panicky scenes.
Yeah, he stamps his authority. He really smacks down Klieg early on. You know, where Klieg's when they're outside and they're about to break in. So they find the tomb and they're going to break in, and Klieg, he basically Parry's like, your financial commitment, I made it clear, would not have any bearing on your leadership in this. It really just, early on, just like makes me aware who's boss.
Yeah.
So
he's good.
Some good little scenes like that where he's trying to stamp his authority and things like that. So yeah, very, very good cast as well.
Mm. And they work really well together, actually, don't they? I was going to say everybody that's in this is kind of playing their part pretty good, I think. I think overall the cast just gel really nicely in this one. You kind of get each character pretty much straight off, I think, is what I like. You kind of know who, like you said, you get the feeling that he's kind of in charge, or at least he thought he was until Klieg went nuts. And so, I think they work pretty good together.
Went nuts, yeah.
Yeah.
And what did you think to... what's the character's name that gets his arm converted into a
Toberman,
the bodyguard kind of
Toberman?
I would say out of the support cast, he was not the best in terms of his.
Right.
It was okay,
but he gets about 3 lines.
I mean more of his performance, like when he's getting a few slaps off the Cybermen. And he does that weird kind of wobble feint thing, which is a bit. I think he's just like, I'm getting paid a few quid here. I'm going to make the most of it, like my screen time.
Well, I think he's all right. I think he probably got to the end of the script and thought, oh, so this ends with me dead on the floor and everyone just going, okay, then bye. Because I did think that when at the end I thought, what, they're just going to leave him on the floor dead? Not very bit harsh. No, I think Toberman's all right. He's, as I say, he kind of fulfills his role. I mean, he's a big guy, isn't he? You know that he's going to do all the rough stuff,
the heavy lifting, literally.
Yeah. We've got to come on to that later, but I'll say,
so he was okay. I just sort of thought he hammed it up a little bit but he was okay.
Yeah, I don't think there's anyone in this that's really sort of cringy or bad. There's no one in it that I thought, oh God, they're awful. I think they're all pretty decent. Yeah,
that's what I was going to say. There isn't anyone that you think, oh wow, this is dreadful. And they all,
it down.
and
Yeah.
like you say, they do work well together. There's a good chemistry there. Victoria, or as they keep calling her through the episode, Vic.
Vic. Well, oh God, I love Deborah Watling after meeting her recently, but I've got to say she's not really that good in it. I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. I totally agree, mate.
It's not really her fault because she does kind of get sidelined big time.
Mm-hmm.
And it does actually feel very much of the time. They're very patronising to her because she's a woman.
Yes.
Didn't you think? I thought, you wouldn't do that now. You'd get a slap.
It's very much of the time.
It's very much
The
the time.
writing,
So I do
yeah.
feel a bit sorry for her because she just kind of gets told, even by the doctor, I think, you stay there. She's kept well out of the action.
Yes. Yeah.
She does steal a Cybermat, which is interesting. But yeah, she's a little bit twee in it. But again, not bad by any means. She's not. You don't think, oh God, Victoria, awful. She's not bad at all. But she just doesn't really get anything to do. Bless her.
No, I mean,
Gets
just
sidelined.
her performance is okay. She's playing Victoria as she would, as you would typically expect her to be. But she just doesn't do much really. She doesn't contribute much. She just sort of whinges quite a bit and.
But she's really young, isn't she? I think when she filmed this, I think she's only like 19 or something.
Was,
so I've got to let her off. And also, it's only her second story, I think. Because although this is the first story in series 5, I think
Series 5, yep.
Yeah, it's the first story. It's only her second story. I really, really wish that, because Evil of the Daleks was the story before this ended series 4, and can you imagine having that? I mean, it's such a shame that's missing because I'd love to see what went on before this. Again, it's a bit like the photos that were going around before this got found. You see photos from Evil of the Daleks. It just looks incredible with the big Dalek controller or whatever it is. But anyway, so it's only a second story, and it's the first. I don't know if it's the first one they filmed in series 5, but it was the first one to be shown. So I'll give her a bit of slack. She's all right.
She's okay. Jamie.
Brilliant. I
Jamie.
love Fraser Hines. He's brilliant.
He's good. He's a frisky. He's a frisky one, isn't he? He's always up for a fight. He's always up for.
He likes the ladies.
He does. Yeah. He's like an excited schoolboy.
Yeah.
He's into everything. He wants to get stuck in with investigating. He wants to get stuck in if there's trouble. He wants to be involved in detective work. He just wants to be involved, doesn't he? In everything that's going on.
I just love the character. I think Fraser Hines is great. I think him and Patrick Troughton have really worked so well together. They are just gelling by now. You can tell that they're just good friends. They're just great together. I mean, that lovely little scene where where they're holding hands by mistake, when they first walk in, and the doctor's supposed to take Victoria's hand, but he grabs Jamie's by mistake. It's brilliant. They were saying on the making of, actually, because of the way Doctor Who was filmed back then, there really wasn't any time for retakes unless something went really wrong, seriously wrong. They couldn't retake, so they said they didn't tell the director they were going to do that because they knew that they would have to leave it in, because they said if they told him, he'd be like, no, don't do that. So they just did it, knowing that it would have to be left in, and it's such a cool little moment. I love it.
I can well believe that, because there's probably 3 or 4 scenes where there's a couple of little misplaced words and things, isn't there? And they just, like you say, there's no time for retakes unless it was a showstopper. So it's just been left in, and so I can well believe that.
Yeah, but I think Fraser's good.
Fraser's great. Yeah,
I like the character. I like Fraser.
And like you say, he gels really well. He works, those two, Patrick Troughton and Fraser Hines, they work very well.
Yeah, they
Doctor
do.
and companion.
Yeah.
Maybe that's something that's been missing from Doctor Who for a while. Having a male companion that's quite strong and can work really well with the Doctor.
Yeah, because I think Rory was good in a comic sense, didn't he? Like him and Matt Smith sort of spun off each other quite a bit.
Well,
but he wasn't a strong character in terms of getting stuck in. He was a bit of a wimp, really, wasn't he? But
here's the thing with like the modern Doctors and male companions, if you want to call them that, is that they always just seem to be a bit of a laughing stock for the Doctor, because he's like a tag along for the female companion that he's really with.
Yeah.
Like with Mickey.
I was thinking that.
He just got destroyed by the Doctor in pretty much every episode, like
especially the Ninth Doctor,
and the Ninth, and also with Danny Pink as well. Even recently, you know, the Peter Capaldi's Doctor never really gelled, or there was never that chemistry with Danny Pink, because he wasn't. I wouldn't class him as a companion anyway, but
really?
You know, like no. So I think maybe I'm not putting anything out there, but perhaps that's maybe what's been missing from Who, is like a strong male sort of force within the TARDIS. You know, someone like Jamie. Yeah,
I agree with you. I'd 100%. I'd like to see that, because it would change the dynamic. I think we've played it a little bit safe. Since it come back, let's mix it up a bit. I don't know if Moffat's going to do that though. I doubt it. Can't see it.
Well, it absolutely wouldn't be in a Moffat era.
No, I don't think
not at all, because you know it would upset too many of the people who like the romantic element of. Anyways, so Patrick Troughton,
really good, fantastic actually. Again, I think because he's working so well with Jamie as well, but. Yeah, he's just brilliant. He's so into the role at this point, isn't he? And he's really good at switching from humour to serious. Pat.
Yes.
He can go from being this sort of almost clown-like hobo to being absolutely in control. I mean, I love the little scenes where he's showing, like, helping the guy to get the computer going, but doing it so he doesn't realise, because to make him feel good, he's sort of pressing the buttons behind his back, isn't he? Making him think he's doing it all. Pat's brilliant. I don't think anyone would disagree with that. He's superb in this.
Yes, and it's often one of those when we're doing these reviews and we don't really talk about someone's performance that much. It normally means because it's just amazing, and there isn't really much that you can go into. We normally talk about poor performances more in detail, but I'm just with you on that one, mate. It's just such a great performance, and he does have this really great knack, and I think that's why a lot of people compare Matt Smith to Patrick Troughton, because they both have this really good ability to go from very serious and stuff to just like acting like a complete fool and a clown, like at a snap of their fingers.
Yeah.
So really love how he does that, and he also does. Patrick Troughton does it. You know, each Doctor, each actor to play the Doctor has these funny little sort of Doctorisms about them. One of the things I like about Patrick Troughton is how he stares at people with this funny sort of not scowling face, but he's got this frown, this sort of constant frown where his nose is turned up a bit, and you know, because he's quite a small chap, you just see him like look up at these other actors, like when they've just finished their line, the camera sort of stays on him for another couple of seconds while he's just sort of frowning, and he's not scowling or anything like that. But I always notice that about Troughton, and it's one of those little things that bring a smile to your face. It's a bit like when John Pertwee's having a fight in any of his shows and his eyes go cross-eyed and bulbous, and he does this weird face. It's just one of those little things that those actors do. And I love that about Troughton.
He's a screen presence, isn't he? He's one of those people that you just love every minute that he's on screen.
Yes.
He's one of those Doctors, isn't he? You just love him. I got to say, there is a great scene with him and Jamie where he cracks a joke. What is it he says? I've written it down. It says something about him having a complete metal breakdown, and Jamie goes, "Oh, you know, what a terrible gag."
Yeah. He is firing on all cylinders.
Oh, definitely.
You know,
he's well into it, yeah.
Yeah, he's got the gags, he's got the seriousness, he's got that typical... although I was going to say he's got like he's the man with the plan, but he doesn't have that, does he, in this really? Because it is a constant battle right up to almost the end of the last episode, where the Cybermen are still a threat, and he hasn't really got anything... You know, he's not one of these typical Doctors that we've seen in the current years, maybe, where even when you think they're on the ropes, they've got like this little plan, you know, put aside that's going to save the day. I was going to say that out of habit, really, but he doesn't have it in this, does he?
No, I kind of like the way you mentioned it earlier, because we kind of know it's a Cyberman from the get go, and I kind of love the way that Pat's Doctor tiptoes into this, doesn't he? Because he instantly knows what he's getting into, and you can tell that he's almost like he's treading very carefully, but you can also see this bubbling excitement that he almost wants to, investigate, and he's, you know, that's what I love about Pat Stotts. You can see that he's like, oh, I can't resist it. I can't resist going in and seeing the Cybermen, even though I know that it's going to be a disaster. I can't resist.
Yeah.
And we have to talk about that lovely little scene with Victoria, where he's talking about, because this is quite unusual, isn't it? There's a scene where the Doctor and Victoria talk about family, and when do we ever hear the Doctor talk about his family? And this is a scene I'd really completely forgotten about. So when I watched it the other night, I was thinking that's unusual and really quite nice, because it's not too sentimental either, is it? It's kind of just a little short scene of the Doctor saying, "Close your eyes, Victoria. I sometimes think about my family. I'm blah, blah, blah. I'm 450 years old." And yeah, it's a really nice little scene. And again, shows Pat being a really nice, warm Doctor that he can be.
Yeah, it's only a couple of minutes, isn't it? It's just
it's really short.
It's a really short little scene between the two of them. And you're absolutely right. We hardly ever hear about the Doctor talking about his... The only time we hear it really is when they're having one of those melancholy, you know, my planet isn't there anymore.
Oh yeah.
You know, it's that, like, you know, I remember the fields of Gallifrey and all that sort of. We don't really hear the Doctor talking specifically about missing anyone of his family, really.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. So it is a nice little touch, and that's just another example of how well written this story is, because it does make you think afterwards. I think that's a sign of a well written story, is when you've watched it and then you think about these little things afterwards. You know, it makes you think like, oh yeah, I haven't heard the Doctor talk about his family before, and especially missing them, and those nice little scenes. So it's definitely a well written story.
I guess that's what. Yeah, it's one of those scenes, isn't it? That doesn't need to be there, but it's great that it is. It's a bit like the cafe scene in Remembrance. It's one of those nice little scenes that you just love. But if it wasn't, it has kind of no relevance to the story. It kind of takes you out just for a few minutes.
Yeah.
Just to have a nice little, you know, calm things down, have a nice little moment. So yeah, I love that bit.
I must admit, I did like that scene in Remembrance.
Yes, well, and again, you know, when you watch it, it's really short. I remember the last time I watched Remembrance thinking, oh, it's the cafe scene. I love this bit. And it's only like a minute or something long. You know, it's a really short little scene, but just like you said, but it's one that stays with you after you've watched it.
Absolutely, yeah. Other little cool bits from this story that I want to mention would be scenes that I think a lot of people would criticise because they would probably label it as bad TV making, but some of the things that they did in terms of effects, I thought were okay for the time. Like the bit where there's a scuffle and Toberman is like having a bit of a fight with a Cyberman, and then they go off camera, and then when he comes back on camera, he's sort of lifted him up above his, and you can tell that it's a dummy, you know, or a mannequin or something. And it's great because as the viewer, you know 100%, unless you're like a very small kid watching it, you know 100% that is not the actual Cyberman he was just fighting with. But it works. You know, those little things work. And there's another bit where, you know, when they start using at the very beginning where they find that weapon that they've been testing, you know, and then when they start using it later, it's got like a little black sort of bathroom, like a plug hole thing at the end.
Oh,
you know, when they fire it off, it sort of go little things like that, which must have been so difficult to do. I think sometimes we don't appreciate that to make a TV program with so little money back in the day, it must have been so difficult for them to sort of get that to work how they wanted it to work in front of the camera.
Yeah.
So little things like that I just love. And the bit as well where the Cyberman has been electrocuted and he's laying on the floor and all the shaving foam's coming out of him.
Yeah, that's actually quite creepy.
That is, it's very creepy, but it's really well done.
Yeah.
It looks fantastic, and it is one of the more creepier bits, isn't it?
I think it did get I don't know about complaints, but it did get a bit of attention, I think, that bit. It's weird because I was thinking, when I was watching that, I thought it is creepy, but I don't know why. Because it's like, it's not horrific, like there's nothing horrible about it, but it somehow is, isn't it? Because it just sort of pops open, and maybe it's just because he's writhing around. I don't know, but it's a great, it is really well done. I might have to slightly disagree with you about the dummy cyber leader, because I did laugh
Of course you
But
laughed.
it's more. It's not so much the fact it's the dummy. It's just more the way he throws him into the controls. That made me laugh. But the thing that saves it is the fact that after that you see Michael Kilgareth, isn't it, playing the cyber leader?
Yeah.
You see him sort of crawling along the floor in his hand, which then takes it back to being quite sort of serious. You think, oh, he's not dead, even though the dummy's head just split in half. If it's suddenly back together. But no, like you said, it's amazing what they managed to get on screen with what they were given. Yeah,
it's all good stuff. Anything else you want to mention, mate, before we get on to scores? Because normally we get through the scores, and you're like, oh, I was going to mention.
Yeah, I'm looking at my I'll probably remember something, but no, looking at my notes, I think we've covered it. Yeah,
right. It's you to go first.
9 out of 10.
A 9 out of 10? 9
out of 10. I think I do think it can be labelled a proper classic. Yeah, it's good. I can't think of particularly anything bad about it. I think the cast are good, story's good, it's well produced, music's good, or whatever it is. Yeah, I love it.
Yep, it's all good.
Brilliant.
Yeah,
it's really good. Pat's great.
I'm with you, mate. A 9.
You going for a 9 as well?
Yeah, I have to.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, it's one of the best. It's one of the best classic era stories, and it's one of the best Cybermen stories.
Yeah,
without a shadow of doubt, purely because the Cybermen are scary and threatening, which is what they haven't been in a long time, which I love. And a wee bit of trivia. It's not really trivia; it's just a tiny little thing. But in the book, the target book of this. It's called Doctor Who and the Tomb of the Cybermen.
Oh.
Which is interesting. Because they rarely change that. It's almost exactly the same.
I do notice that the original Target cover's got the wrong Cyberman on it.
It's got one of the newer.
It's got one from Invasion, I think, instead of the ones that are in it. Because I noticed that, because I really like the cover, actually.
Yeah,
it's got this blue background with just the Cyberman's head is the cover, isn't it? But unfortunately, it's not the. Well, that doesn't really matter, actually, does it?
No.
Because the book could be taken in its own content. But I did notice that.
So if you've not seen Tomb of the Cybermen, and you're after a good, I imagine if you haven't seen this one, but you also think, wow, I haven't really seen a decent Cyberman story in a few years, then absolutely go and check it out.
Yeah, definitely.
It's one of the good ones. Right, what did you guys think? Let's start on Twitter. This is Charlie. Twitter name is @Fezmaster2014. He says, enjoy one of my favourite Doctor Who stories of all time. It's fantastic. Joe Max says, his Twitter name is @CupOfTeaWitter, says just very short and sweet, a classic. George Garrity @GUnit91, he likes to put his thoughts over several tweets. And he says, yes, one I can be positive about, because I think the last couple of weeks he's not had very good things to say about the stories. He says, this one's a cracker. Despite following the base Understage format common in that era of Who, this really brings something new to the table. All of the acting and characters are fantastic, even screamy old Victoria. There are great iconic scenes in this too, most notably the Cybermen's entrance and Troughton's speech. Although some people criticise the Cybermen's voices in this story, I believe they are hauntingly beautiful.
Yeah.
Take the line, "You belong to us, you will become like us." So even reading it's so good. Yeah. This is such a brilliant classic, and I'll be slightly generous and push up the rating to a whopping 10 out of 10.
Oh, yes.
Good stuff. Moving over to Facebook, our good friend Nick Gill says, the rediscovery of this story was unprecedented back in the day. It was rushed to video release so fast I couldn't believe it, and the sci-fi media expectation was huge, and the marketing campaign equally so. He says a 6-foot Cyberman posters in HMV in the early 90s. Having only glimpsed stills from the story in the past, this was one of the many Troughton stories I thought I'd never see. It's a great story and very iconic, and of the Troughton monster years, quote unquote. The story is good, but the imagery has lasted the test of time. The Cybermen emerging from their tombs are so much better than the fridge doors of Attack. Still one of my absolute favourites of all time. And then he had a nice little story to say. he managed to get one of those posters.
Oh, he got it. Ah.
Yeah. He said they'd only have thrown it out. His dad drove him to Nottingham, where they called to say they were taking it down. It covered most of his wall back in the decade.
They were big, yeah. I clearly remember them all the way down the door. Yeah. Yeah. Has he still got it?
I think so. I think he says he's still got it somewhere.
Lucky. Oh, I'd love to know if I can't remember if I got mine. I don't know.
Yeah, he says he still has it somewhere.
Wow.
So maybe we'll buy it off you, Nick.
It is a good poster. Yeah.
Sammy Satine. It's a good story for the most part. It goes along really well. The only thing that doesn't work for me is the fact that the Cybermen take so long to get out of their pods.
Mm-hmm.
And the Cybermen voices are a bit annoying. It's good to see Jamie and Victoria, and that scene where Jamie and the Doctor held hands instead of them holding Victoria's is funny.
Yeah.
Troughton is awesome, and his semi-speech to Victoria about her father is touching. Excellent story. Certainly improved on the second watch. I didn't like it the first time I watched it. She gives it 8 out of 10.
Oh,
P.S. I wish we could have a Jamie in the TARDIS again.
Oh, there you go. So do we.
Lewis Palmer. This is how you do the Cybermen. They are so much creepier and better designed than the Iron Man rip-offs that we have today. There we go. My thoughts exactly, Lewis.
Yes.
Patrick Troughton is especially great in this story and creates a semi-iconic speech to Victoria. This story has one of the best cliffhangers. You shall be like us. What a fantastic line. The story is gripping. You cannot take your eyes off it. Some parts can be a bit dated, like the incredibly obvious wire shot when a Cyberman picks up Toberman. But it doesn't stop the story from being one of the very best of all time. 9.5.
Brilliant.
Audio reviews. This is our good friend Alex Kingdom.
Hello, Gareth Adam from the Big Blue Box podcast. Tomb of the Cybermen, it's okay. To me, it is... I'm joking, it's fantastic. Honestly, great. I mean, I love the eeriness of it, I love the atmosphere. That's my favourite thing about this episode. I think that's what steals it. And Patrick Troughton sells his performance really well. He sells that he doesn't know what's going on. And I really don't like the group or the villains. Are a bit too stereotypical for me. Like Toberman or the other woman, they're just too stereotypical. And I don't like Victoria. Please don't hurt me. My family's got nothing to do with this. I'm just not a big fan of her. But my favourite part of the episode is in episode 1. And the Doctor's talking about like Victoria's dress, and then he goes, "Don't worry about that. Look at Jamie's," and his response is, "Ooh, aye." It just makes absolutely no sense. It sounds hilarious. So yeah, I'd probably give to the Cybermen an 8 out of 10. I think it's fantastic, and the Cybermen are great. But no, I just think that there's some things that let it down. See you next time.
Thank you, Alex.
Cheers, Alex.
Jeff Waddle. What do we think he says about this one?
Jeff.
Oh, Jeff.
I would have thought he would like it, but you never know.
He says, I blooming love this.
Oh, phew.
And all the fuss about when it was recovered after the initial excitement, people thought it wasn't that good. Well, these people are wrong. Troughton at his best, the Cybermen at their best. What's not to love?
Yeah.
Danny Brown says, this for me is in the top 10 of Doctor Who stories ever. It's got a great atmosphere and really well-designed sets. No wonder it's Matt Smith's favourite from the classic era.
Yeah.
He gives it a 9 out of 10.
You can definitely see Matt is channeling a bit of Troughton, can't you?
Oh, of course,
when you watch these, yeah.
Ben Smith, one of the best episodes ever. The Cybermen were at their best in the 60s, and here is no exception. It features the greatest cliffhanger in You Shall Become Like Us. The Cybermen emerging from their tombs is so iconic and also very creepy. Everyone except from Victoria gave great performances, and as always, the chemistry between Troughton and Hines is fun to watch. 10 out of 10. Let's speak to our good buddy from Who Alex Reviews, Matt Rowney.
Hey there, Gary and Adam. I hope you two are well. Sorry I've not commented on a podcast in a while. I've been listening to all of them, and they're all fantastic as always. I've just not been able to upload my comment on time. I keep forgetting to, and then when I get round to it, it's too late. So I want to quickly put my opinion across on Midnight because I was quite devastated. I missed that. I never got my chance to put my opinion across because Midnight is one of my personal favourites of the modern series, and it is the perfect example as to what you can do with Doctor Who without the whole CGI and all that big scale stuff that they use a bit too much nowadays. It's the perfect example of how good Doctor Who can truly be at heart when it has great characters and a great story and great acting. And I'd probably give it a 9 out of 10. And talking of great acting, and talking of something that was quite secluded, but yet still absolutely phenomenal, is Tomb of the Cybermen. I find Tomb and Midnight have a lot of similarities, actually. They have great characters, and Tomb has some fantastic characters. The Second Doctor is on the brink of becoming my favourite of all time. He is just incredible in this, as is Jamie and Victoria. I like them too as well. But the Cybermen are just phenomenal. I mean, they're so creepy, and I don't think the modern series, no matter how much CGI they used, how much budget they put into the costume or whatever, the music, they will never get any creepier than Tomb. They were outstanding in that episode. So yeah, for me, Tomb is one of the very few episodes what I would give a 10 out of 10. It is absolutely fantastic. It's up there probably in my top 10 of all time, and it's my second favourite Troughton story, just behind the War Games. So yeah, 10 out of 10 for Tomb of the Cybermen. I hope you two are well and keep up the great work with the podcast. And without doubt, I'll see you next week.
Cheers, buddy.
Thanks, Matt.
That's a really good sort of double review there.
Double whammy.
Back on Facebook, last couple here. Spence Horton says, I enjoyed this story and remember the excitement when it was released on VHS after its discovery.
Mm-hmm.
And Finn Walsh says, after last week's negative review, this is the complete opposite. I love this story. It was eerie, unlike Midnight, which wasn't, and mysterious. The introduction for the Cybermen in this story was brilliant, and I loved all the cast. So for a turnaround from last week, I'll give it a solid 9.5 out of 10.
A lot of high scores this week.
And lastly, audio, this is Jay Kent.
Hey Gary and Adam, hope you're doing well. Now, Tomb of the Cybermen is considered one of those iconic classic episodes, and I'm pleased to say it doesn't disappoint. The Cybermen themselves are incredibly eerie, and even if they are hard to understand sometimes, their mechanical wah, 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 noises did leave a certain chill with me. Of course, this is also the first appearance of the Cybermats, which look very comical surrounding a group of people who are screaming, and like, just step on them or kick them or something, it's not that hard. And I have to credit this story for its use of visual effects, from the rope that helped open them up to the dummy cyber controller that he threw across the room. But I really like this story, with its sense of uneasiness and uncertainty, with aspects of the story all come together in the end. I'll give this a strong 7 out of 10, and I hope we get a Cyberman story of this good again in the future, quite soon, please. So yeah, I hope you're doing well, and enjoy the rest of the show.
Nice one, Deep.
Cheers, Jay. I thought he'd go a bit higher than that. 7.
Anything over on the Geeks Handbag page?
I liked his little impressions. Yes, we did. And I'll kick off with a name I can't pronounce.
as always.
Why can we never pronounce? I think it's Adrian, but spelt in a very strange way. Well, not strange, but different. So Adrian Porter says, the script was well written and Troughton and supporting cast were amazing. And he's giving it an 8 out of 10. Lee Collins said he was lucky enough to get his from the CEX shop. I don't know, do you ever use them, Gary? CEX? Second hand?
A couple of times, yeah.
And he said to his amazement it was signed by Fraser Hines, so that was a good find, Lee. Joseph Howarth says, fantastic story involving the Cybermen, and it has the iconic line of, our lives are different to anybody else's. That's the exciting thing, that nobody in the universe can do what we do. Yeah, I'd forgotten about that. That's Troughton. Yeah. That's the Doctor, isn't it? Yeah, it's a very good one. Thanks, Joseph. George Cobban says, really good story, but there are other Troughton stories that I prefer, but still it's a brilliant Cyberman story and a true classic, and George is giving it 8 out of 10. And finally, Rob Jones says, Tomb of the Cybermen, well, it's the best Cyberman story in my opinion, and my God, they are scary. The characters are brilliant, and I cannot fault it at all, says Rob. He's giving it 10 out of 10.
Wow. Consistently high scores there.
Yes. Oh, and I've done our usual classic of calling a lady a man. So, Adrienne, I'm really sorry. It's Adrian Porter is a lady. We always do that, don't we? Never seem to get names or sexes or anything right, so I do apologise. I knew as soon as I said he's giving 8 out of 10, I thought I bet it's wrong. So
yeah, we always have a habit of just just putting our foot right in it.
Really should. Yeah, I should check these things before I read them. Really,
we should research before, shouldn't we? We never remember the names of any of any episodes, of any review scores,
Cannot retain
actor names.
information.
No.
Information.
Maybe we should be upgraded.
Yeah. Delete.
That might, delete and upgrade. That might help. So thank you very much for all of your thoughts and stuff on Tomb of the Cybermen. It's great. I know I've said it before. You're probably thinking, yeah, whatever. But I love reading all the thoughts and listening to the audio clips that you guys send in, because it's almost like it's like a community review. You know, it's everyone's just sort of jumping in. It's not just us saying, you know, this is good or this is bad. So thank you so much, as always, for sending in all of your thoughts and clips. Next week, talking of the 11th Doctor, what are we doing next week?
Yeah, so next week it's the Vampires of Venice. 11th Doctor story. That's from Matt's first series, isn't it?
I believe so.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's Amy and Rory, isn't it?
I think so, yeah. I can't remember much about that. Yeah.
We've not... I don't know about
I
you.
always say this, but I can't. I haven't watched it for ages. Yeah.
I was going to say the same. I have not seen this one in quite a while.
I literally can't remember anything apart from Matt talking in a mirror with vampires behind him. That's the only bit that sticks in my mind. So, yeah, looking forward to giving that a rewatch. It'll be good to chat through that one next week.
Same as. I can't remember much from it at all. I remember a big blue fish thing.
Really? I can't even remember that.
I don't know,
blue fish.
I can't remember much else.
Not thinking of that shark, are you?
Well, actually, the only thing that does stick in my mind is because they always drag them out at like the proms and the symphonic thing. Is you have the women, you know, the vampire women.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, with the umbrellas.
Yeah, I can remember them, but I can't
Is there
remember
a big blue fish. I really can't remember that.
I think one of the characters, their true form is like a big blue fish thing because they live in this. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong.
Liminec. This sounds exciting.
Yes.
Can't wait to rewatch it.
Right, I think we're going to do that, mate.
Yeah.
Thank you for listening through to the end. If you stuck with us, a bit of a longer show this one because we threw in our survival guide as if you couldn't survive anyway without us. So thank you very much for sticking with us, and thank you once again for sending in all of your thoughts and comments and views and audio clips and all that stuff. It does make the show awesome sauce. Looking forward to next week. Haven't done Matt's. When did we do Matt Smith last? Vincent and the Doctor.
Oh yeah.
I've got a bit of emotion on that one. I can't see me getting that emotion on this one, but
well, it depends what happens to this big blue fish.
We shall see. We shall see. We shall see. Well, no, we won't see. I won't get emotional at this one. I can pretty confidently say that.
Okay.
Head over to the website www.bigblueboxpodcast.co.uk and you can listen to all of our previous episodes there, and you can also find links to Facebook and Twitter and Instagram if that takes your fancy, because we do put stuff out on those other things. We post pics of stuff that we've bought with the money that we don't have, and all little tidbits and thoughts and stuff, so give us a follow over on those.
Did you see that adipose thing I put up last night? He's sticky.
Nice.
He's like it's this little adipose figure that comes with a book, and he's on a little stand, and you squeeze him and he makes a noise, but I don't like touching him. He's all sticky and horrible.
Well, he is made of fat. Come on.
Oh, is he meant to be like that?
I don't know.
Oh, I don't like him. You may have to go back.
Send him back wrapped in tissue.
He's probably walking across the floor upstairs as I speak.
What was I saying? Yes, find us on iTunes. Just do a search and you can subscribe in iTunes. And if you are an iTunes listener, if you could give us a rating and a review, that would be amazing. Remember to check out Adam's channel,
the adipose handbag.
The adipose handbag. I was going to say
handbag.
The Big Blue Box podcast, but no, you're listening to that right now.
I've done that before in a video. I said the wrong thing. I'm like, do check out the Geeks podcast. Oh no.
Let's rewind. Here we go.
Yeah.
Remember to check out Adam's channel on Facebook and YouTube, The Geeks Handbag. Plenty of good videos and great content over there, so make sure you give it a subscribe and a view. Until next week, I'm Gary.
My name's Adam.
And remember...
Lottie.